Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week, we continue through 1987 and continue through season 4 of Muppet Babies with 3 more episodes titled Weirdo for the Prosecution, Muppet Island, and The Frog Who Knew Too Much. But thankfully, that's not all, because we also watched Jim Henson and Kermit at the 1987 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and Jim Henson and the Muppets at the Television Academy Hall of Fame.
Everybody wants to give Jim awards these days, it seems like.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
Because we will talk about it, but it's so incredibly sweet and wholesome.
Yeah, it really is. Matt, before we start, Matt, I got a question for you.
Whoa, unprecedented.
What'd you get for Christmas?
Oh, yes, of course. Welcome to 2025. This is our first episode of 2025. The holidays, obviously, at this point were great, past tense. For Christmas, I got everything I asked for from my list.
Me as well, Matt. I got everything that I asked for and more, and it was the most magical day.
Did you actually put together a list this year?
I always put together a list. Yeah, me and Rachel both put together. Well, my parents, they'll really go wild if you don't give them any direction.
Yeah.
And they love a list. One year, I think I've told this maybe before, but one year I was opening presents and I was like, oh, a nail gun. Oh, some like woodworking tools. What is any of this stuff? And this was the year I hadn't made a list, and they had found Rachel's list, and they had assumed it was both of our lists. So
gotcha, just the home list.
Where every single thing I got was actually a present for Rachel, so she got double presents that year. And ever since then, I've been very specific about making my list.
That's
not power tool based.
That's fair. Yeah, I have to make a list for my parents and the in-laws because, similarly, I don't know if your parents are like this, but like my parents and even my in-laws are both like the idea of giving just like one big present or just a couple presents is unheard of. Like they want to give you like 8 things to open because the idea of opening presents on Christmas Day,
that's fun.
Obviously, it's very fun. I agree. But I would rather, if there's only a couple things I want, spend the money on 2 bigger presents as opposed to spread it out across like 8 presents that maybe I don't actually want.
That is really tricky because that's like you do have to take into account everybody's gift receiving preferences. And you have to weigh if that happened to you, Matt, and you only got 2 big presents and everybody else got 8 things or whatever, would you be sad as everyone else was opening their like 6 more presents and you were done?
I think I'd probably be doing the mental math of just like, yeah, but this thing was $300.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, I think that's the beauty of Christmas, man. Everybody approaches it in their own way.
Yeah, mathematically.
Yeah.
But also speaking of Christmas, we recently attended a Muppets Christmas Carol screening that we sponsored at the local indie movie theater, the Roxy here in Missoula, Montana. And we got up on stage and introduced the film and did some trivia beforehand.
Do you think we're the official podcast of Missoula, Montana?
Hank Green lives in Missoula, Montana.
Oh, shit. I totally forgot about that. He's got more of a global perspective, though, Matt. We're kind of
You are on another, more popular podcast with Hank Green.
That's true. You're right. Thanks for bringing me back down to earth.
I think, if anything, I built you up. I brought this podcast down to earth.
Yeah, right.
But I think official Muppet podcast in Missoula, I think we can claim.
I would hope so. That would be really sad. I'd be so sad if we weren't.
How does it feel being at an event like that where people are looking at you as a representative of Kermitment?
I don't know. I've never really tried to put myself in the shoes of the people who are looking at me.
Mm.
I often, when the movie starts, have this mindset where I'm like, God, I hope people liked it. Or like if a
Yeah.
joke, if like people don't laugh at a joke like I think they should, or like if something just feels off, I'm like, this year they're gonna hate the movie and they're gonna blame me for it. But everything always ends up all right in the end. But I do watch it with the thought that this is our fault somehow, that everybody is here to watch it, even though they
Right.
bought tickets and stuff like that. I don't know if anybody will go home and listen to the podcast after hearing us, but yeah, I think we probably come across all right. Not
Yeah.
too Muppety, if you know what I mean.
I mean, there's probably more Muppety people in the crowd
Exactly. The lady
than
who introduced us was like, I bet these guys like the Muppets more than you. And in my head, I was like, absolutely.
probably not.
The lady with the Kermit the Frog hat in the
Yeah.
audience definitely likes Kermit more than I do.
Yeah, I talked to a few people afterwards, and I think it's like I run into this a lot with this podcast and with like talking with people from, Tough Pigs or Muppet Wiki who've been doing Muppet fandom stuff on the internet for 20 years, where I'm just like, oh, yeah. I understand that I am the Muppet podcaster, but you are a diehard Muppet fan and have been your entire life. So I promise you know more than me.
Yeah, I don't quite know how to explain the difference between those two things, but I think that's probably pretty common in lots of like rewatch media based podcasts
Yeah.
too.
But yeah, I saw people grabbing some of the lobby cards that I made from the lobby after the screening. So at least some people probably checked out the QR code
If
to
you're one
find
of
out about
those
the
people,
podcast.
if you listen to our show because you saw us at the Roxy, send us an email at our email address, which is
mail@kermitment.com.
great. That's a great email address for us.
Thanks.
It's kind of the perfect one. And let us know if that is true. We've done this a couple of years in a row, but I'm not getting recognized on the street like I think I should be.
What was exciting, I think, and shows that there are a lot of Muppet fans in Missoula is that last year there was one screening of Muppet Christmas Carol that we sponsored, and it was sold out, which was amazing. And this year they upped it to 4 screenings of Muppet Christmas Carol, and at least 2 of them, if not all of them, also sold out.
Yeah.
So we were only I went to 2 of them and Sam went to 1 of them. I went to 1 accidentally.
Oh yeah, you were doing something and they pulled you in.
I was dropping off the lobby cards on the day of the first screening, and they were like, "Want to introduce the movie?" And I was like, sure."
But you didn't stay for the movie.
I did not stay for the movie, so I only watched it once at one of the screenings. But yeah, it was great to see, the crowds full of Muppet fans from Missoula, and I do have that feeling afterwards where I'm like, I feel like I should know more of those people. I feel like I should talk to those people more often.
That's how I always feel in Missoula. Like when I'm at the store or like when you're at Target and you see all strangers. It's like, how are there that many people who live here? That's so crazy.
That's how I feel like when I go to like the Holiday Maid Fair or like these big Missoula events where the entire town turns out, Holiday on Higgins where they're lighting the Christmas tree. It's very sweet and a Hallmark Christmas movie kind of thing. And you're looking around like, I don't know any of these damn people.
But it's almost a little bit scarier to me is that you know how there's those people around town that you do see and you're like, there's that guy.
But you don't know them?
The thing that I worry about is I've been here so long, been to so many maid fairs. I'm generally at stuff, I feel like, that I wonder if people see me and Rachel and they're like, there's those two old timers. I don't want to be the old timer.
You said you don't get recognized, but what if there are people when you're walking around the maid fair be like, that's the Muppet guy?
Yeah, exactly. Or they're just like, who knows what they call me? That's what I never want to know is the qualifier of what I am to them. It's like,
right. Because even if they were like, that's that weird Muppet guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to know that.
I'd rather not know that. But I'm going to be so hype if I see the lady who won the hat walking around town with our hat on. Wouldn't that be great?
So we did a trivia thing where we gave away some merch. We gave away one of our I Appreciate the Muppets t-shirts and our Keep Believing, Keep Pretending hats available at kermitmentstuff.com. And yeah, I've been thinking about that too. Like just being at the store and seeing somebody walk by.
You won the
like,
hat.
hey, good hat.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, thanks, weirdo.
Get out of my face. Yeah. Help police.
Well, if you're a Missoula Muppet fan listening to this podcast, also hit us up at mail@kermitment.com and let us know, like, if you got any ideas for local fun things we can do to, nurture this Missoula Muppet community.
Yeah. And get more people to listen to our show. We got to become the official podcast of Missoula, Montana. That's my New Year's resolution.
That's a lot of pressure.
Well,
I feel like I have to do something to like take down the other, like Dear Hank and John. Like, I have to run a smear campaign.
Oh, okay. Now I'm listening.
Sam's on board. Well, if you want to listen to us elsewhere on the internet, we've been a couple other places recently that you can go listen to. One, we were just on BBC Radio 2 asking OJ Borg some more trivia questions for the third year in a row about Muppet Christmas Carol.
One of these years he's going to say, why don't you boys stay on, host the rest of the show with me? It'll happen.
I would be terrified. the like 5 minutes we spend live on BBC Radio 2 is...
And I make you be the leader.
It's the most like perfect balance of joy and terror, I think, where I am enjoying myself. It is very fun. OJ is great. We're having a good time. And then every few seconds I remember, holy crap, this is live.
Yeah.
This is right now. People are driving around in England listening to us on their radio.
That thinking about all the people listening doesn't scare me. What scares me is that I will say something horrible.
Yes. Or just swear, or just say like...
He swore when we were on, so you are allowed to swear.
Yeah, I know they have different rules with the BBC, but he did say shit.
I don't know that we're allowed to swear.
Yeah, we might get more in trouble.
But I don't want to endanger that relationship, or I don't want to make the entire country of England, Britain. I'm not sure.
That's the other thing. It's so treacherous because we know so little about Europe in general, but like especially when it comes to using like British, UK, Great Britain, English, like those words that, I don't want to mix up the wrong direction on any of those. So I just avoid any references to things we don't know about. But, we weren't just on BBC Radio 2. By the time you're hearing this, you can also go listen to us host an episode of a different podcast. We hosted an episode of 70 Years, 70 Muppets, which is a Muppet fan podcast presented by toughpigs.com. It is an unofficial but sanctioned companion to the Muppet Studios celebration of the Muppets' 70th anniversary in 2025. And they asked us if we wanted to host an episode all about Crazy Harry.
Matt's favorite Muppet.
Everyone's favorite Muppet, Sam. Let's not restrict it to just me. But if you haven't been following along with the Muppets on social media during this, or the Tough Pigs podcast, you don't know that the Muppets have been choosing some truly wild picks for this whole run of celebrating 70 Muppets thing, which I thought, they would have to. 70 Muppets is a lot of Muppets. You're gonna have to celebrate some weird guys. But they didn't even hold back. They weren't like, okay, maybe by the time we get to the end, we start talking about the weirdos. They kicked off this thing with, Rolf. Great. Rolf was the first one. The second one, New Zealand. Third, Pops. Fourth, Baby Skeeter. And that's the moment where I was like, okay, what are they doing here? And then they went with the Kuzbanians. They had the Muppet Ghost. Most recently, they had the Muppet Tomato was the Muppet of the week.
Oh, wow. I'm seeing that right now. Behemoth.
So, we get to talk about Crazy Harry. So you can go listen to that right now over on the Tough Pigs podcast feed. I assume there's also a post on toughpigs.com where you can find it as well.
Just knowing how many meetings they must have had to figure out this list of 70. Delightful. How heated some of them must have gotten.
Yeah. Well, Sam, enough talking about other podcasts. Let's talk about this podcast. And I'll ask you, what did we watch this week?
It's November 12th, 1987. Some things in this world are absolutes. The leaves falling from the trees, ushering in the changing of seasons, the steady march of time, and Muppet Babies being on TV every Saturday morning. You stayed up way too late last night playing video games, so today all you can do is eat your Cheerios and watch in a stupor. This week's episode is called Weirdo for the Prosecution. The babies are playing red light, green light, but Miss Piggy and Gonzo get a little carried away and start running through the house. A crash is heard from the kitchen, and the babies enter to see Gonzo standing near a broken cookie jar. Gonzo claims he didn't do it, but he also doesn't know who did, and the babies all start investigating the crime. They discover that everyone has an alibi except for Gonzo, and when Camilla is found near the trash can, they decide to put him on trial. Skeeter is the prosecutor and tries to paint Gonzo as a master criminal, while Piggy defends him as a trustworthy friend. The evidence against Gonzo looks bad, but Kermit can't bring himself to convict. Once the trial is over, Nanny comes in and tells the kids that she broke the cookie jar, and then the children all have the nerve to say, "Well, we never thought Gonzo did it anyway," after dragging his name through the mud for 20 minutes. It may be sleep deprivation, but was that an actually okay episode of Muppet Babies? November 28th, 1987. You tune the TV back to Muppet Babies, eager to see if maybe this show is kind of good now. This week's episode is called Muppet Island. The babies are playing when Nanny comes in with their afternoon snack. Unfortunately, Animal swallows all the snacks in one big gulp before anyone gets any. Nanny sends Piggy, Gonzo, and Kermit to the kitchen to get some jelly so she can make more sandwiches. But once again, kitchen roughhousing ensues as they fight over who gets to actually bring the jar to Nanny. In the kerfuffle, the jar falls to the ground, splattering all over the hallway carpet outside the playroom. Nanny tells the kids that she has to shampoo the carpet and that while it's wet, they can't go out and she can't go into the playroom. So the kids are trapped in the playroom and they don't even end up getting a snack. They pass the time by pretending they're on a deserted island, and that's basically the rest of the episode until Nanny comes in at the end and tells them that the carpet's dry and it's time for dinner. The only thing Muppet Babies could do that is worse than being really bad is to occasionally trick you into thinking that it's good. Feeling embarrassed, you turn off the TV, grab the bowl of leftover Thanksgiving stuffing out of the fridge, and go back to your room to eat it in the dark. December 5th, 1987. You're ready to never see Muppet Babies again, but your sister is fully Muppet Babies pilled, and your mom won't buy you a TV for your room. Being a kid has its perks, but freedom is not one of them. This week's episode is The Frog Who Knew Too Much. While putting the kids to bed, Nanny mentions that she has a surprise for them in the morning. When she leaves, the babies speculate about what it is. Kermit gets up to get the baby some water and wanders into the kitchen where he spots Nanny wrapping the surprise. She tells him not to tell the other babies what it is. But Kermit goes back to the nursery and does not play it cool, even remotely at all, and they all immediately guess that he saw the surprise. So they try to get it out of him in various ways, ultimately resorting to torture to try to get the information out of him. Fortunately, his friends eventually tucker themselves out and fall asleep, leaving Kermit in peace. The next morning, Nanny comes in and gives them their surprise, and it's a train set, and the animal immediately eats it. You feel shame in your heart once again because that episode was sort of okay. Muppet Babies, the great deceiver of men, has its hooks in you yet again. We also watched a clip from the 1987 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade wherein Kermit and Jim are presented a Rolly Award. Is that what they're saying? A Rolly?
Yeah. It's named after, I think, the clown that's like the
Right.
mascot
Well, the
of
head,
the Macy's Day Parade.
The award is a big, creepy clown head.
Yeah, they present Rolly's head.
And that's basically a Lifetime Achievement Award for being in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade a lot and contributing to the culture of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And it was a big time for Jim getting Lifetime Achievement Awards because we also watched him be inducted into the Television Academy Emmys Hall of Fame on December 5th, 1987. Harry Belafonte and Frank say a bunch of nice things about Jim and then turn it over to Kermit, who leads the Muppet Show crew, the Fraggles, the Sesame Street Gang, and some of Jim's employees in a rousing song about how great Jim is before he takes the stage himself and makes a nice speech about the importance and magic of television.
Well, Sam, it does sound like we maybe had some similar feelings about some Muppet Babies.
Wow, okay. I'm not
this week.
surprised.
But overall, I gotta say, One, really noticing Piggy's cheeks being way too rosy
They
this
got so
week.
pink. Yeah, the biggest difference between I feel like the new animation company is not that bad. I think
Ooh, I disagree.
I think the first couple episodes were a little iffy, and there's certainly still moments where people move around too much. But I think maybe I look at it in the context of any other show that was around at this time, and it's not
Mm,
that different in quality. But
yeah,
Piggy looks different. Like there's just
yeah.
something different about her whole vibe.
Yeah, and I don't know why she's so red-faced. Like, her nose and cheeks are just bright red
Yeah.
constantly.
I would guess that's kind of a hard effect to get because usually
Maybe.
you're coloring within the lines of a character, you know, you're just
Yeah.
painting the cell. But I would guess for that, there is more advanced painting techniques required that are probably annoying and probably hard.
Yeah, I think overall the animation, I just notice it way more than I ever used to.
Hmm.
Like I think early on we had the fun moments where there were like these in between cells where you would see like Kermit's face get all squished or his eyes exploding in a weird way, and it was like a fun little like smear frame of
That's true.
animation.
They don't do that as much anymore. That's
No,
definitely true.
now when I'm noticing the animation, it's because the scale is all weird, or they just have like random Muppets placed like not on the
Yeah.
same plane. And there's one screenshot that I shared in our Patreon Discord where they put the Muppets too close to the wall, and so Gonzo looks like he got whoops, like Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, because he's like as big as the entire wall almost.
Oh wow. I'm seeing the thing that you shared.
And
Yeah.
then like Fozzie's just like shoved in the bottom of the frame for some reason. And there's a few times like that in these episodes where the babies are sort of staggered as they're standing around talking, but just sort of like awkwardly placed at different heights. And there's no clear reason why they should be different heights. And it's just a little awkward. I also think there's the the moment for me too that called so much attention to itself was when Kermit goes and catches Nanny wrapping the surprise.
Uh huh.
He walks in and it's just an empty, cavernous room. And the
Yeah.
only thing in there is a table where Nanny is wrapping a present.
And the kitchen is so well established as to what it looks like. And they
Yes.
mention later specifically that they are in the kitchen, but they were
Mm-hmm.
not in the kitchen. They were in the kitchen the episode before. We saw the kitchen. We're
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So, I mean, also he goes downstairs in that episode too, which is
Yeah.
odd.
He
Like
leaves the nursery, goes downstairs to get to the kitchen.
the nursery has certainly always been on the main floor, but now it seems like maybe their bedroom is upstairs in a different room than.
Oh, the bedroom's definitely in the same room as the
You think so?
nursery. Yeah, we see it
Okay.
in the background usually.
Okay.
But I think it also, yeah, it's the only time we've
Mm.
seen stairs is when they were going up to the attic in that one episode.
Yes, and the stairs there were
So
crazy. There was like
yeah.
they went up like 3 different sets of stairs that were going in different directions.
So this house, I can't even begin to imagine how big this house is
Yeah.
because every time they head out into the hallways, there's like 12 doors down the hallway of
Yeah.
all these different rooms that they're not going into. And then there's apparently at least 2 stories and an attic to this house.
It's a Kevin McAllister model of home. It is.
I'm picturing it even bigger. It's almost like a haunted mansion interior where you're just like, wow, there's no end to this
Yeah.
place.
Right.
Like it's like an old Victorian mansion or something.
Yeah,
Like
or
it's kind of wild.
like the Overlook Hotel, like that part where they like go through the hallway and it doesn't make sense that there'd be a window in that guy's office, but it's like
Precisely.
there it is.
Yeah.
I think it's also really interesting that they don't do music anymore, and I wonder if it is. I mean, I'm
I think
sure they
that will
will.
change. Yeah.
I'm sure they will again, but it was such a strict, like that was part of the show, and now I wonder. I wonder if it is because this company is less good at the music video ness required
Mm.
of music, or if it's just like they were sick of it, or it's just a budget thing. I guess it's a budget thing probably with cutting out some of the songs, but
Say we do have a song in the next episode we're going to watch, so we don't get rid of them for very long.
it's probably for the best, honestly, because a lot of the songs were nonsensical and it made Rolf seem like a real idiot.
There was I felt like we were almost going to get a song in one of these episodes. Like Rolf
Yeah.
starts talking, and anytime
Yeah.
Rolf starts talking, I'm just anticipating a song.
Uh-huh.
And there's even like music that starts to swell while he's talking, but it
Yeah.
turned out he just wanted to do a Miami Vice parody.
Yeah. He's stretching his legs a little bit. Rolf gets to do some different stuff now, but it does make him seem
mostly
a
be
little
a cop.
sad. He does like to be a cop. They all like to be cops a lot.
Yeah.
But it does give Rolf way less to do also. So sometimes he's just like in the desert island one, he's just like, can I help? It's like he has to be Mary Ann in the Gilligan's Island thing. It's just like and Rolf, which is like so appropriate for Rolf. He is always the kind of the odd man, not the odd man out, but just like in the cut so much that it makes
Well, and
sense for
also
him
if
to
like
be
somebody
that.
needs to be sort of like the country bumpkin character,
Right.
Rolf fits the bill.
That's right.
Oh man, I can't wait to get that episode because I went on a weird Gilligan's Island rabbit hole, Sam.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before we get to that, let's start at the beginning with November 21st, 1987, Season 4, Episode 10, Weirdo for the Prosecution, written by Sidney McKay and Larry Swerdlove.
The married people.
Yep.
Great.
Sam, I really liked this episode.
So another thing overall,
Mhm.
not to bring it back to that, is that I notice there is less of an omnipresent, oppressive feeling to these episodes. I feel
You mean like for us or like within the canon of the episode?
within the canon of the show.
Okay.
I feel like the babies are allowed to leave the room. They're allowed to interact with Nanny
Except for
bit more.
explicitly the one episode where they're told Nanny can't even come into the room if you need help.
Except for that, which to not be able to leave the room with explanation is progress to me, honestly.
Fair.
But I just feel like I can never remember the name of the guy who wrote every other episode, but there's just something about his episodes that feel so like that invite your brain to be like, they're trapped in here, they're in an underground facility, there's something deeply strange going on. But I think that's been broken in these newer episodes where it feels like they watch TV, they know about popular culture, they interact with the world outside of their playhouse, even if it's in an abstract way. And Nanny is like coming in to talk to them and show them stuff and like be part of their lives in a way that she didn't feel like she was in the first couple seasons. It makes it a little less fun in some ways because there are less moments where it's like, what kind of dark, twisted thing is going on here? But it makes it less sad to watch, kind of.
Yeah, I think that's a very positive way to look at it, Sam. And I think like I had almost a negative read on that same feeling in the Muppet Island episode.
Yeah.
Where it just doesn't feel like anything is important at the same time. Like it's all about being trapped in the nursery, but because that is sort of their everyday life.
Exactly.
It didn't feel like they wanted to get out.
Yeah, you might as well pretend every single day that you are trapped in this nursery.
Right.
Yeah. But if no other episode existed, like if this was the first season of the show and there weren't all those episodes where it's like, we're going to get in big trouble if we leave the nursery. Because now they just go back and forth as they please.
Right. Like she even sends them out to get jelly.
Right.
But yeah, they were sneaking around a lot more in the early seasons. And Jeffrey Scott, by the way, is the writer who wrote a lot of the early Muppet Babies episodes. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching Weirdo for the Prosecution. So much so that multiple times I was like, am I sure? Like,
that's how I felt too.
Am I actually liking this? It's almost over and I still am liking it.
Yeah. The parts I didn't like were some of the like Flight of Fancy imagination things that didn't make as much sense. But some of the Flight of Fancy imagination things are great.
How'd you feel about Fozzie dressed as clearly a pimp?
He was supposed to be Huggy Bear, you see.
Oh, okay.
Starsky and Hutch. I think that was what they were.
But he was in a Dragnet parody.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta take a step back and think about the really hacky jokes that these people are writing in a larger scope. But I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be dressed like Huggy Bear.
Okay,
who I believe
that's a good pun.
Who I believe is a pimp, but I'm not.
I think I'm looking at Starsky and Hutch wiki, and it says he's a part-time pimp.
Okay, well man,
he's a confidential informant, bar owner, and part-time pimp.
He's a very entrepreneurial.
I've never seen an episode of Starsky and Hutch, but I have seen the movie where Snoop Dogg plays
Yes, that is
Huggy
the
Bear.
only familiarity I have too, except that I'm sure I've seen parodies or like Family Guy. I'm sure Huggy Bear is in Family Guy, and that's probably why I know that he wears a hat like that.
Ever since we mentioned the word Starsky and Hutch, I'm afraid there's a millennial thing happening in my brain right now.
What is it?
Do it.
Do
it.
That's from that movie? I know what you're talking about, but stop.
Do it.
That movie was erased from my brain by 21 Jump Street, which is the same movie but much better in my opinion.
That was that era where they were bringing back all this eras of shows where they're like Starsky and Hutch, Dukes of Hazzard. Like they were making movies of all these things and they were all pretty bad.
But the thing about 21 Jump Street's quite good.
21 Jump Street, good, but also later. I'm thinking about that era.
Yes, you're right. 21 Jump Street is about how stupid it is that they did that.
I'm also wondering, like most trends like this, I'm wondering what the first one was that was good, that made like all the other studios go, well, now we gotta make all these things into movies. Because that's what usually happens, is there's one that comes out. It's like Barbie. Barbie came out and they're like, oh my God, everyone loves Barbie. Let's make a Hot Wheels
That
movie.
means that people want to see toy movies.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure there was some 70s TV show that got a movie adaptation that everyone loved in like the early 2000s. And then they just decided to keep making them.
Was it Dukes of Hazzard?
That was definitely not the one everyone liked.
Okay.
Because like then we end up with Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell.
Was it Starsky and Hutch? It might have been Starsky and Hutch.
I feel like there's something before Starsky and Hutch, but I would have no idea sort of how to Google what I'm talking about.
I'm trying.
70s TV shows made as movies.
Oh, was it maybe Charlie's Angels?
Ooh, Sam, you might be onto something there.
That could be too early, but
that was 2000. Yeah. I feel like you may be onto something as far as what might have kicked this off and emboldened people to think that maybe they could make a new comedy based on a 70s TV series.
I bet that's got to have at least something to do with it, because that movie was a big deal. I remember it being quite popular. And I would also say that movie is probably a bit of a response to Austin Powers. So maybe it's ultimately it could be Austin Powers' fault that we have all of this stuff. Okay, let's talk about Muppet Babies. So
yeah, we actually like this episode. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we kick off this episode with red light, green light, as Sam mentioned. Fozzie, of course, fails first.
And then, much like Squid Game, Skeeter blows his head off.
We once again see Skeeter as a cop. She pulls over Gonzo and Piggy, who are speeding during red light, green light.
That's just got to be in the style Bible as her go-to, I feel like. If someone's going to be the cop, it's Skeeter.
Well, Kermit decides, I don't think Gonzo did it. But we better figure out who did. So let's all split up and look for clues. And Rolf immediately teams up with Kermit for our first detective story, which is a parody of Dragnet, which is just mostly a lot of puns on Friday.
Ugh, and then that happens again in another
episode. Know! I couldn't believe that in the Muppet Island episode, they brought back the Friday puns.
Yeah, it's a little less weird than that when we had 2 episodes in a row where Baby Kermit turned into a torpedo, but...
Yes. Yeah, if we're ranking weird coincidences, yeah.
But I have an update about our Sesame Street episode. My mom sent me a clip from Hill Street Blues. It was remember how we were like, this is weird that he says, get out there and do it to them before they do it to us. That's something that they would say in that show.
Gotcha.
So that was like the catchphrase of like the squad leader.
A whole
guy.
TV show. This explains a lot about some other generations of people and their opinions of other people in the world.
I think that's probably right.
You grew up on Hill Street Blues. Your politics may be troubling.
But anyway, have you ever seen Dragnet?
No, I've seen clips. I've seen the weird rap video with Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd from the 90s version of Dragnet.
Of course.
Which is one of my favorite videos to share with people who have never seen it.
Yeah.
Because it feels fake, like they made it for 30 Rock or something.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like it could be real.
With Dan Aykroyd, though, everything's out the window. You don't know what that guy's going to do.
I'm also realizing, Sam, that maybe we're just completely off base with our theory about 2000s movies, because that's literally what we're talking about. And that's like 15 years earlier.
But that's a show. That's a way older show. and that was a flop.
Well, Rolf and Kermit continue investigating the breaking and entering of a cookie jar. They go to famous Fozzie's, the Cookie Man of Alcatraz.
Yeah, there's really a lot going on with Fozzie because he's got that nickname. He's also called the Cookie Man of Alcatraz, and he's dressed like Huggy Bear. So they really just were like, we're going to use up all of the different references in this one episode.
Yeah, just like every police reference they could think of, just toss it out. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this is just they go and investigate. Nothing is really happening.
I really liked one Chip Scooter though, because he was like wearing a lab coat, like he's like a drug deal, like he's like cooking drugs in the back room or something.
Yeah, I don't know if he was supposed to like breaking off, bits of cocaine or
I think
what
he
he's
was supposed to be like a jewelry fence or something like that.
Gotcha.
Like the crooked pawn shop guy or something. Who's
right, because he's trying to chip off like chocolate chips of a giant chocolate chip.
Yeah.
Well, Skeeter teamed up with Animal for some reason. Bold choice.
Well, but they're the only two who are actually looking for clues.
True. I would say one of them is looking for clues.
Sure.
Skeeter does find Camilla next to the trash can, though, which obviously for her confirms that Gonzo was in fact the culprit.
Yeah, but it's actually just Nanny having a really bad day.
Yeah, I get it. I'm sure you're trying to watch 8 little kids who are literal monsters in some cases. And at this point, I was like, it feels like this crime-solving stuff is moving too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like waiting for the twist of this episode, or I was waiting for, there's going to be like an 8-minute segment of really boring stuff that is completely different, or they decide to move on to a different parody of a thing. And I was like prepared for that.
We see the whole criminal justice system at work, though.
But the other Muppets are not on board with Skeeter's immediate accusing of Gonzo, and Scooter suggests they have a trial. And so we get to a courtroom. It seems like at first, Scooter is the only one who knows what a trial is.
Sure.
I think he's been watching People's Court because he introduces Kermit as Judge Hopner.
Yeah, that's great.
One of the few good character parody names they give characters in Muppet Babies.
This episode does okay with it, I think.
With like famous Fozzie?
I like Piggy Mason because it's at least got the same, like, the letters are in like the right orientation for it to be parody.
Yes. Yeah. It's not like some other ones we get, like Frogginson Crusoe.
Or in the next episode, Barrigan instead of Gilligan.
And he's like the only one who gets a name.
Yeah.
They don't bother with anybody else.
Nope.
Skeeter is the prosecutor in a sharp little suit. No one wants to be the lawyer for the defense, so Gonzo is going to defend himself.
He's got to. That makes sense for him too, though,
I just feel bad that not even Rolf or Kermit or nobody stands up for Gonzo.
Yeah.
Aside from being like, whoa, I don't know that you did it, but let's let the courts decide.
The evidence is stacked against him.
Camilla being there is not great.
That's damning.
I will say.
Yeah.
Another moment that made me chuckle is when Skeeter says, I'd like to call my first witness. And they say, okay. And she goes, Gonzo!
I only vaguely got that. Was that like calling someone in for dinner or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Skeeter tries to say that Al Weirdface Capone, for some reason they don't want to say Capone.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. They leave the E off and only call him Capone. Maybe they don't want kids to know who Al Capone is.
They didn't have a problem with like Blackbeard, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they went into too much detail about Blackbeard.
They said how he died, I think, didn't they? Or something like that.
Or they at least said that like being a pirate will lead to your death.
Yeah.
But this is one of the few moments I will say so far where I've heard a big difference in the new Skeeter voice.
Okay.
There's just the way she is yelling about Weirdface Capone slips into like a different character for a moment there.
Is she bet? Do you like it better or worse?
I don't. I think it's purely just because I am used to the Howie Mandel voice and the Bobby's World voice that not having that, it starts to make me notice the lack of Howie Mandel more than I normally do.
I find her less grating now, I think. I prefer new Skeeter.
Well, we end up in an Al Capone-like parody of the Untouchables, only this is the Unbeatables.
I hated this whole part. I could have done without this whole part. This isn't real, It's like, this has no place in a trial.
Well, I think this is a Skeeter doing a terrible job as the prosecution,
Yeah.
basically laying out her case with a fully imagined scenario.
Yes. And then
Uh,
when Piggy does it later, her scenario has embellishment, but I believe
mhm.
is implied to have actually happened.
Yes, it does. That does sound like things that actually happened. This just sounds like Skeeter is taking some liberties.
Yeah.
I do like that, there's other chickens and Camilla there as a part of the plot. So it's not just that Gonzo left Camilla there, but Camilla was in on it.
Sure.
There's also a line that, maybe wouldn't end up in Bluey or some other baby show today when Gonzo yells, "You'll never take me alive, copper."
I miss
Because
that.
that implies too much of
Yes.
what could happen.
He'll die in a hail of bullets.
Yeah, going out full Bonnie and Clyde style. But thankfully, Kermit calls out Skeeter for being too hard on the witness, and she just goes, "Huh? Oh yeah, sorry, Gonzo, nothing personal."
Yeah, I like that little running gag through it. Because when I was writing the plot synopsis for this, I was like, this sounds kind of dark. Like the babies are putting each other on trial. It sounds
I think
like.
they made really good choices with
Yeah.
Skeeter in this episode to
Yeah.
have her pull back when people point out that, hey, you're playing a little too hard. You're
Right.
like committing to the bit too much.
Yeah.
Pull it back. And every time she gets called out for it, she pulls it back. And even at the very end, she's like, "I'm so sorry, Gonzo. We were just having a bit of fun."
Yeah. This is the most reasonable we've seen Skeeter, I think.
Absolutely. Well, it's Gonzo's turn to defend himself, and he does a really, really, really bad job.
He badgers his own self as the
Yeah.
witness.
Can't agree on a story at all. Even Kermit, as Judge Hopner, says, "Gonzo, I don't think it's going too well for you."
Yeah, and like this part I think was when I I'd already liked this episode, but this part I think
Yeah.
was when I was like, they're playing. I think they did a really good job of going back and forth, even in the Desert Island episode, which I didn't like. I think
Yeah.
they've been doing a better job of going back and forth between real and imagined to show that they are all playing. And
Yeah.
this one I really liked how it reflected something that was actually happening to them, and that it was like had a little bit of stakes to it because Gonzo was on like literally on trial. But yeah, I like how it, like you just said, how it keeps bringing it back to like, well, this is just a game, so you don't have to like actually be like beating yourself up in the witness stand.
Well, not only do we get a pretty reasonable, great Skeeter, we also are about to get maybe the best version of Piggy we've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree.
Kermit says it would take the greatest lawyer in the world to get you off now. And enter Piggy Mason. But the most dedicated defense lawyer you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
She sends Fozzie out to find a witness, first of all, which felt a little bit like, go boil some hot water. We don't need you here. We just want to distract you so you don't mess anything up.
Rachel's been watching The Lincoln Lawyer, so I was just thinking, you ever seen that show?
No.
He's got like and we watched like The Good Wife, and a lot of detective shows, especially these days, have a character who's like the investigator for the lawyer, who's kind of off doing their own like, and they're kind of like don't play by the rules. So I was just thinking, if this was made today, that would be like he'd be like roughing somebody up trying to get like the location. But it was kind of like, go guard the base, Fozzie, get out of here.
Well, the first witness is Scooter. Piggy uses him as a character witness to describe his good friend Gonzo, but she ends up leading the witness a little bit.
Yeah.
Because she wants Scooter to tell the court about the time Gonzo saved his life when he was trying to save Animal, who had climbed up on the bookcase.
Yes.
Which we have seen before. So this is, a reality-based concept. We've seen Animal climb up on the bookcase before and been concerned for his life.
Yeah, I almost partway through this episode, I got a little confused as to whether this was a clip show or not, because that has happened so directly. But that was with Robin. But it did seem like this could have been a good.
Yeah, that was when he took the baby and climbed the bookcase.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is actually bad.
Like, this could have been a good structure for a clip show if they needed to do one.
Well, Piggy exaggerates a bit. It's not just 5 feet in the air. It was 500 feet in the air up on top of a bookcase. And Scooter and Animal were about to fall to their deaths when, thankfully, Gonzo saved them.
And the implication is that he actually did save them with a fire truck. Like, because they're like, it's Kermit's fire truck. So he did have a toy fire truck and come save them, I think.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that would work in the real life version of this.
Well, it was like you have to imagine an abstracted, very nice toy fire truck with a working ladder, I think.
Of course.
At the beginning of it, I was notable to me that she was like, say something nice about Gonzo, and Scooter will not. He won't even. He just eventually says like, "I guess he's weird." He was.
Yeah.
Why
That's
can't
the
he
first
say
thing he
he's
thinks
my
of.
friend? Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to say that he's a nice guy or that they're buddies.
Well, and I like this. This was another moment that made me like the episode a lot. Was this just Piggy being so passionately defensive of Gonzo?
Yeah.
And I like Skeeter pointing out, like, hey, but Gonzo didn't ask Kermit for permission to use his fire truck.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
all these little character beats are really good.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest compliment I can give it is that it all makes sense within the plot
Yeah.
of the episode.
That's what I'm struggling with too. Like, how low is our bar here?
It's so low. So Fozzie wanders into the basement to find a witness and is approached by a shadowy figure, confirming that there is yet another layer to this house.
They've never been in the basement before, have they?
We might have mentioned a basement, but I don't know if we've seen it.
They're spending more time in the attic. A more dangerous place for babies to be, the attic, I would say. But
I mean, you keep chemicals in a basement sometimes.
I guess equally bad. Don't do either one.
You shouldn't allow like your babies to wander into a basement alone.
Sure.
Honestly, any staircase should be off limits.
Yeah.
Which it is definitely not.
No,
in this
there's
house.
houses full of them, it turns out.
Yeah. Well, Scooter and Rolf and Animal are crying during Piggy's closing remarks that are so touching and so good.
I like that she says, he doesn't have an evil bone in his miserable little body.
I feel like this was like every episode should be like this episode.
Yes,
kind
I
of
agree.
moment.
Yeah, where she's very like, I think Piggy consistently has felt the most like her adult self, but
yeah,
that was such a great line that I could hear Frank saying.
They continue the imaginative storytelling that like drives the plot forward throughout this entire episode. It's all based around one thing that happened in their real life. It keeps moving forward. They want to actually solve this mystery. And it feels like the best version of real kids playing make-believe.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas I feel like the next episode to me feels like actual kids and how they actually play make-believe.
I wrote that exact same thing down. I was like, this feels like actually trying to play with a kid and being frustrated because like, just, stick to the rules a little bit, guys.
No, a pirate's here now. You're like, fuck, why is there a pirate? Yeah, but before we get to that one, Kermit declares Gonzo is innocent because he said he is, and no one saw him.
Yeah, so he can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, and this is when Skeeter is very sweet and congratulates Piggy on a job well done.
Yeah, great. They are not being mean to them in a sexist-coded way.
Yeah, they were enemies in this episode, but not because it was like girl fight kind of situation, which it normally is. Fozzie races in with his witness, who is Nanny, of course.
Which also at the beginning of the episode where you like, Nanny obviously broke this.
I mean, I assumed so, because they don't build up enough tension. Gonzo is so oblivious.
Yeah.
That it's not like he's trying to hide the fact that he broke the cookie jar. Right. Like, it's clear that something else happened.
And it would have been disturbing if at the end he was like, I did do it the whole time.
Which is one of my, not issues, but like interesting notes on the last episode is that there is sort of a mystery that we don't get to know, but is less compelling.
Yeah. It's so uncompelling that it took me a long time to remember what you were even talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, it's also interesting that we don't see Nanny at all in this episode until she comes in at the end as the witness. And we learn she spills on what happened. She says, I broke the cookie jar and I had just washed Camilla. And when I went to, I dropped Camilla when the cookie jar fell.
Yeah. So I forgot her behind the trash can.
Yeah. And the reason she was going into the basement is to get the old cookie jar, which every household has.
Sure,
old cookie jar.
Several cookie jars. Yeah.
And then, the episode ends with Piggy giving Gonzo a super long bill for her services.
I don't think I've ever interacted with a cookie jar. Have you?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
It's like a limited thing. Like, I think at one point I was in an apartment with an ex-girlfriend and we got a cookie jar. We filled with cookies one time.
Yeah.
And I think they either get a little melty and by the end you're eating some gross cookies.
Some stale cookies.
And so I don't think we ever refilled the cookie jar after the first time because I think it sounded like a good concept.
Maybe I've pulled like an Oreo out of a cookie jar or something, like a house where they kept the Oreos.
Something that's not melty.
Right.
Well, the go bye-bye at this is Gonzo getting taken away from court presumably to jail.
It's an alternate reality, I guess, where he did do it.
Yeah.
Or Kermit found him guilty.
Or Animal framed him in some way.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because Animal's the one there delighting in his go bye-bye moment
That's
as
right.
Gonzo gets dragged away.
Yeah. Animal takes on such a sinister, like, tone in these go bye-byes. Like, when he's the sun, he's the very sun itself. It's kind of
Yes.
like, ah.
Well, then we watched from November 26th, 1987, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Not the entire thing, but a 2-minute clip of Jim Henson and Kermit appearing with their old friend Willard Scott.
I think it's interesting that Jim is standing there with Kermit on his arm on a show that I assume lots of children watch, and it's like he's not hiding him somehow, or even like having him sit on his arm, I think would have been like he's just doing the, like, you can see where my arm is.
He's never been
entering
too
Kermit.
shy about doing that on
No,
TV before.
But I think on late night shows is different than on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I think today they would,
today there's not a chance you're
yeah.
going to see Matt Vogel.
Right. But I think it is just like, I don't know, it's kind of nice. I always like it when they do kind of put the curtain down a little bit, because I do think that's important to Jim. But
well, and I think it's I was like they don't do it as a practice these days. I will say there was when Muppets Mayhem was being promoted at D23, they had a nice moment where like the Electric Mayhem was there and they had the puppeteers underneath the chairs and you could see them.
Oh yeah, right.
There. And then a few times lately, Kermit has been appearing at like live music things. And they hide Matt Vogel and like his assistant who's ever helping him out with the banjo stuff, but they're not completely hidden. Like they're not putting them behind a big block or something. Sure. But yeah, Jim is here with old friend Willard Scott, who I think is a little mistaken
about the barn party thing.
Yes.
Okay.
So Willard Scott mentions the first time he and Kermit ever appeared together was on Barn Party back on Channel 4 back in the day. And Jimmy, as Willard calls him, is just like, oh, yes. But looking into it, I couldn't remember anything called Barn Party ever coming up in our research.
Okay.
So it looks like basically Willard Scott's first TV children's show that he did was on a show called Barn Party in 1954. But that seems to be when he was working in Florida. He then moved to Washington, D.C. to work at WRC, which was the local NBC affiliate, and that's where he would have worked with Jim Henson.
Huh. I wonder if he maybe could have played a clip of something Jim did on Barn Party or something.
I don't think Jim was doing anything at that.
Oh, okay.
Like, this is the earliest days of Jim. Like, this is Willard Scott was hosting the show Afternoon on the NBC affiliate, and that is one of the earliest things that Jim went on with the Muppets. So, yeah, I think there is definitely a long history there, but I think Willard's just mixing up Afternoon and Barn Party.
It is fun. It's interesting to think about how big of a role the Today Show and like the Willard Scott in particular had in early Jim career. It's just like, it's fun to watch them stand around and talk about it too and think like that happened so long before this clip that we're seeing.
Yeah, that's a good, 32 years before this that they were hanging out when Jim was probably like 17 or 18. Right. And Willard Scott, I'm sure, was pretty young too. Yeah. It was early on in his career. And yeah, they were just making weird little puppet shows in the 50s when the like TV had just started.
Yeah.
And now they're like in Manhattan getting awards for their work.
Yeah. And I love the way that Willard talks to both Kermit and Jim. Like they're just like both two of his friends.
Yeah. Well, and even like when he's introducing him, he's like, this balloon from the Jim Henson Company, that little upstart. I don't even remember how to pronounce it properly. Yeah. I'll have to look it up. And he calls him Jimmy multiple times, which I don't know if Jim liked, but I've never heard anybody else call him Jimmy.
Willard Scott was Ronald McDonald, for crying out loud. You got to let this guy call you whatever he wants to.
But yeah, unfortunately, that early show Afternoon is one of those that we don't have any footage of. There's like flyers of like, watch the Muppets with Jim and Jane on Afternoon.
Right. That sounds familiar.
I don't think any like photos or clips of Afternoon that's out there in the world, unfortunately. But yes, Ed Finkelstein is here, who I don't know his role. I'm guessing something to do with the Macy's Thanksgiving Day
He seems
Parade.
like he's the coordinator, a planner, some kind of yeah.
Definitely not a TV presenter based on his energy.
They still do that today. They have like the person who planned the parade gets to do something at the beginning usually.
He gives Jim and Kermit the Rolly Award, and then I feel like he undercuts it a little bit.
Why?
By immediately giving Willard Scott another award.
Oh, I thought that was cute. They're kind of they're a package.
I don't feel like Jim knew that was going to happen.
Oh, well.
And so he showed up to receive an award for himself and Kermit, and then they're just handing these things out.
No, Willard deserves one too. I think it's fine. I understand what you're saying.
I'm fine with Willard getting one.
Yeah.
I think he could have had his own moment.
Okay. Maybe you're right. At the end of the show or something, they could have said, we got one more to give.
Yeah. I was also trying really hard to hear the conversation at the end because they don't turn off the mics right away.
And Willard is like, I think we're off now.
Yeah. And they do like a nice little pleasantry where you can hear Jim just being like, hey, Will, it's nice to see you kind of thing. And Willard says, Kermit, let's do lunch.
I love that. Yeah.
But I was really just hoping for like 10 more seconds of like hot mic moments from them.
I think this is such a great example of like the Muppets. Everybody's always like, the Muppets are so sweet. They show the best part of us. But I think one of the best things about the Muppets is that they're like, aren't couth about being on TV. Like they shine such a light on being on TV and like being famous. And Kermit is like, to be a 70-foot tall balloon filled with hot air. It's really an honor that I wish every American could experience. Like,
yeah, I think he says like they'd enjoy the parade more that way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just such a little bastard in this part. And then I think one of them says Willard would make a beautiful balloon too. And then I love why like Jim is like chatting and Kermit's like looking up at the balloon that's going over them. And it's just it's nice. And I like that they're like not pretending. They don't do this as much because you don't see them as much together. But like when Kermit would pretend that Jim wasn't there, they'd like draw attention to him and Kermit would be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. I like them both just kind of being in the moment.
Yeah, it's like it feels like Jim and Kermit also walk off and just go have lunch.
Yeah, like they really did go have lunch with Willard. I believe that to be true. They probably had such a nice day. It's probably so great to be rich and famous in New York on the Thanksgiving Day Parade Day, just hanging out.
Well, it's time to discuss the next episode of Muppet Babies from November 28th, 1987. Season 4, Episode 11, Muppet Island, written by Rich Fogel and Mark Seidenberg. I believe this is a new duo that we have not seen anything from yet.
Doesn't sound familiar.
But they it says they've written several fourth season Muppet Babies episodes. So maybe we have seen them. They at least write one more in the next batch that we're watching as well. So maybe we still have all their episodes left to go. But
this feels like it could be a first episode of Muppet Babies, though. Like you watch an episode, you watch a couple episodes and you're like, I think I can figure out how to do this.
They also, it's worth noting, did write the next episode, The Frog Who Knew Too Much, as well.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think both these episodes suffer from that last 8 minutes problem that we've talked about in earlier seasons of Muppet Babies, where you hit that like 14-minute mark and you're like, what do we do with the rest of this episode?
Yeah, the real sweet spot of a formula for Muppet Babies is you have enough real world stuff for them to talk about in between that you don't have to worry about that.
Well, and just having all the babies interact is always helpful. I think too often they split them up for too long, and you're just left wondering, like, what are the other babies doing during this time?
Right.
How is this driving anything forward? Is this just happening in like a 5-second imagined moment between Fozzie and Kermit?
Yeah.
What does this do for us? Worth noting, these two guys will also go on to write at least one episode of the animated Dog City in the future as well.
Oh, I forgot about that. Can't believe we get
to watch that?
Yeah. Sometimes they were just giving this guy big sacks of money for no reason.
Well, to kick this episode off, all the kids are playing around the nursery, like independently, it seems. Yeah. They're all sort of
very normal.
They're sort of theme songing it, I would say. They're all sort of doing similar actions to what they do during the Muppet Babies theme song.
Oh, yeah,
like
you're right.
Kermit's on his rocking horse, and they're all just off doing their own interesting things.
Right.
But boy, does the animation look extremely rough in this first segment. Everything just feels off. The running, the staging, the room. if you go back with that in mind and look at this first thing, I don't know if they were just taking big swings and missing, but everything about this first 4 minutes of this episode looks bad.
Yeah, I didn't notice. I should know. I gotta start paying more attention to these things.
There's lots of pausing Muppets for no reason who are just standing there blankly. There's lots of weird staging. It's just.
Is this the one where one of them's giant?
Yeah, I think that's later on in the episode, actually.
Okay.
I think it's throughout this episode. But there's a moment earlier on, I think, too, where there's just random Muppets sort of awkwardly standing at a height that makes no sense. And yeah, it just really caught my eye. Another thing that caught my eye, though, is Animal, for these writers, is all about just swallowing toys whole.
He does do that. Yeah, in both
Yeah.
episodes.
He just swallows a few toy blocks completely whole.
Yeah, right.
At the beginning of this episode. That's
Well,
the first thing he does.
Then he swallows all the snacks whole.
Yeah, that's when, and then Nanny brings in the PB&Js, and Animal jumps on the table and eats all the sandwiches.
I thought it was interesting that somebody said, "Hey, Animal, that was fucked up." When that never, he's never really faced consequences for anything he's eaten. This is the first time somebody's been like, "What, dude?"
Not cool.
And it wasn't cool. That was mean of him to do.
Yeah, I don't like this episode. I will say that first of all. Did not enjoy this episode. I like the dialogue in this episode. So I feel like maybe that's the skill set these guys have, is better dialogue.
Yeah. Okay.
Just little lines that feel like they're written in a way that Muppet Babies isn't usually written. For instance, when that happens, Nanny's like, "Oh, I'll just make some more," and she lifts up her jar and she's like, "Oh my, no more jelly." And she's so alarmed. And then there's a moment later on where after the kids have gone to get the jelly, when they come back and they splatter it everywhere, Kermit says, "We got the jelly, Nanny." And she goes, "I'll say, you got it all over the rug."
That was pretty good.
And I was like, Nanny suddenly has comedic chops.
They also are playing a little bit with the thing Fozzie does where he goes off on an extended, and then this crazy thing will happen. Right. And everybody goes, Fozzie. Because in this one, he does that. And then they say that and he's like, "I didn't say anything." And I thought that was more fun than him saying, "Sorry." I think him just and I think in the next one he does something similar, but
I think you've mentioned this before, that maybe when, new writers are hired, they're essentially given a first season batch of episodes, maybe that they go back and watch, and they write new episodes based on what they've seen, as opposed to sort of evolving the concept of Muppet Babies. And so there are these certain tropes that end up coming back of, well, I guess Fozzie has to do a nonsensical rant.
Right.
Animal
and something
eats
will
random
come
things.
Back that happened so long ago that the only logical explanation is that they watched
absolutely
a whole episode of it.
Well, Nanny sends Piggy, Kermit, and Gonzo to go get the other jar of jelly, because much like cookie jars, she's just storing jelly around this house.
Yeah, got a lot of droppable jars in this house.
Yeah. Thankfully, this one doesn't shatter into a million pieces, but Piggy, Kermit, and Gonzo do fight over who gets to give it to Nanny, and they drop the jar and splats all over the hallway carpet.
And everybody's facing the consequences of their actions, because then Nanny is also like, that's what happens when you don't work together. Not that they learn to work together later in the episode or anything like that.
They say they did.
They do?
Yeah, that's at the end.
They build a catapult and shoot the pirates, I guess. Maybe that kind of counts.
They say we found the treasure because we worked together.
Okay. And then he's like,
Don't you remember that treasure is the most important plot point of this episode, Sam?
In the last 1 minute of the episode. Yeah.
There's about 8 different plots in this episode.
Yeah.
But yes, Nanny shows a lot of restraint. She doesn't get mad. She doesn't yell. She's just like, well, I have to lock you guys in here now because I have to shampoo the carpet. And Rolf says, if we can't go out, the Nanny can't come in.
That's just not. I mean, there's also several doors to this room, I think. They can go
I don't know if that's true.
I think they have an adjoining bathroom that is a hallway, that has a hallway entrance as well. Okay. But either way, don't do this.
No, do not lock your babies in a room.
Let the kids sit and watch TV for the afternoon or something like that. And also, you can walk on the carpet. You just gingerly hop across it. It's all right. And it's just one little spot. I guess she's taking the opportunity to do the whole thing. wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the hallway is like 12 feet wide. So I
Yeah.
feel like they've got space to walk around.
Huge, yeah.
Well, yes. They imagine that because they are stuck, this must be like they're on a deserted island, which Peggy imagines as a dessert island.
Great.
Yeah, made of sweets and all that. It doesn't really go anywhere until Fozzie says, it's like that show we watch on TV. And then we pan to an island, and for some reason, off screen, you hear the faintest Berrigan's Island. Like he barely gets it out.
This is he is embarrassed by his concept, I think.
Hey guys, remember Gilligan's Island? I made can we imagine my thing for now?
And what do we call it, Fozzie? Berrigan's Island. Berrigan?
You want to try again, Fozzie? You want to Fozzigan's Island, maybe?
Even would be better.
Yeah. No, I think that's the best I've got.
I was so sure this was going to be a Treasure Island episode. It never even
you
occurred
that last
to
week.
me that it could have been Gilligan's Island. And I was mildly horrified that it was.
Yeah, like Treasure Island is a more classic, timeless piece of media.
As the years go by, there could be an argument to be made.
I think Gilligan's Island currently is a forgotten piece of media.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I don't think Gen Z knows Gilligan's Island.
The kids don't care about.
We know Gilligan's Island because of Nick at Night.
And because of that reality show, The Real Gilligan's Island. Do you remember that?
I vaguely.
I never watched
I will
it, but
say,
I remember the commercials.
This sent me down a Gilligan's Island rabbit hole because I was wondering why the kids would be so into Gilligan's Island, or if they should even know about it. Which is not a limitation to the show, because we have a Miami Vice thing next, which the kids should definitely not be watching. But did you know Gilligan's Island was only on for 3 seasons?
No. Outsized impact.
Yeah, it's from September 1964 to April 1967.
That's shocking to me. I would have guessed 7, 8.
Well, I've got way more shocking Gilligan's Island facts for you because I couldn't stop myself.
Okay.
There were also 2 Saturday morning animated spin-off shows.
Gilligan's Spaceship or something like that? Was that one of them?
Ooh, yeah.
Gilligan's Planet. Gilligan's Planet.
Yes.
Yes. I remember that one, but I didn't know of another one.
Well, I was going to play a game with you because I didn't assume you would know any of that.
Oh, come on.
I was going to play a 2 Truths and a Lie
with
animated Gilligan's Island spin-offs and try to get you to find the fake one.
But there's still one more I need to guess?
Yes. Okay. So the other 2 names I was going to give you were Little Gilligan and the New Adventures of Gilligan.
Oh,
Which one of those do you think is real?
I feel like I can picture a child version of the Skipper who kind of looks like the child version of Fred Flintstone. So I'm going to guess Little Gilligan. Is that right?
It's not, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Why do we both know this?
I think it might be an episode of something else. Why is there a baby Skipper in our heads?
Are we picturing Baby Popeye or something?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, though. And I don't know why. Oh, no.
Well, this episode will be 4 hours long instead of only 3 hours long if we try to get to the bottom of that. But that's something. What is it?
There is definitely something with a baby Skipper.
Wait.
But oh boy, I don't know if it's like a Tiny Toons or something else.
There might be a character in Flintstone Kids who is like a snooty rich guy a kid who wears a hat like that.
Oh boy. Well, let's not spend time figuring that out. I will tell you that the answer is The New Adventures of Gilligan.
Wow.
Not Little Gilligan.
What do they do? Okay.
So The New Adventures of Gilligan was the first spinoff, and it's pretty much just Gilligan's Island animated, with a lot of the original cast coming back. And then later on, in 1982, so not that long before Muppet Babies, they did Gilligan's Planet. Gilligan's Planet is about them building a rocket to escape the island, and they end up crash landing on an alien planet.
That's hellish. I don't like that concept.
Yeah. And I listened to both the theme songs, which are pretty much the same theme song, reworked a little bit.
Okay.
And they're 2 of the worst animated Saturday morning theme songs I've ever heard.
Oh, no. Poor Gilligan.
It's like they took the Gilligan's Island theme song and thought, what if we made this twice as long and twice as slow and basically had Gilligan sing it?
Ugh. Okay.
Yep.
Is he rapping?
No, he's
Okay.
just sort of talking. It's like William Shatner singing.
Oh, okay. I gotta check this out.
But yes, I did get sucked into a bit of a Gilligan's Island rabbit hole because then I was like, well, why are they relevant? Why does Gilligan's Island stay relevant for so long? And I learned it's partially because they kept making TV movies after the series.
Right.
They made Rescue from Gilligan's Island, The Castaways on Gilligan's Island, and then lastly, The Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island.
Oh, wow.
Yes, where I believe the Harlem Globetrotters fight robots.
Not a lot of surfaces to bounce a basketball off of on Gilligan's Island. I would
Yeah,
imagine.
maybe the worst place for them to use their skills.
The beach, yeah. They could
Well, I
play
learned.
beach volleyball. I bet they'd be really good at volleyball, though. You can probably do all kinds of crazy stuff at beach volleyball.
Well, the reason this episode even existed, or this TV movie, this 2-hour TV movie,
Oh, God.
the NBC executives brought the idea to have the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders appear on Gilligan's Island to the
What?
creator, Sherwood Schwartz. And Schwartz liked the idea and was like, I'm going to make a whole movie about this premise. And before he finished the script, NBC was like, hey, so the cheerleaders said no. Rewrite it with the
turned
Harlem
down.
Globetrotters instead.
Okay.
And because the ratings were so low, Sherwood Schwartz did not get to make his follow-up idea, which was murder on Gilligan's Island.
Oh, that's really a disappointment.
Yeah, but he did say in 2008 that if he was going to make a modern-day movie adaptation, he would cast Michael Cera as Gilligan and Beyonce as Ginger.
Okay, that could be great.
I wouldn't mind.
Michael Cera as Gilligan would be fantastic.
I don't think you're going to get Beyonce now.
Nah, she got scared off by Austin Powers 3. She's not doing comedies anymore.
Yeah, I think like this is probably the last time he had heard someone talk about Beyonce was Goldmember. And he was like, wow, she'd be great in my Gilligan's Island movie. That'll never happen.
And you know what? She probably would have been.
Yes. Yeah, she's very good in Goldmember.
But for people our age, it was on Nick at Night all the time. And like TNT and TP. I feel like it was everywhere when we were kids.
I feel like it's one of those shows you cannot marathon because it doesn't hold up to repeated viewings and every episode is the same. One of the episodes, one of the TV movies I was looking up, I think it's the it's the Rescue from Gilligan's Island, I think, is very similar to some plot points from Lost.
Oh, wow.
Like, so much so that it was kind of shocking to read through it. I was like, oh, this does sound a lot like Lost.
What do they find out that they're like there's like scientists on their island or something?
No, it's more about spoiler alert. There's some things in Lost where some people do get to leave the island at some point.
Okay.
And do end up going back to the island at another point.
Oh, okay.
And that's what happens in this TV movie is that they leave Gilligan's Island and they accidentally end up back on the island at the end of the movie.
Oh no.
They crash back.
These people are in purgatory.
Well, that's what some people think about Lost. Well, getting back to Muppet Babies, we get, they say the comedy thing of a hat on a hat because, you're just layering too many things that it's not funny anymore. Right. This is like 8 hats on top of 8 other hats.
Yeah. It's thin soup.
Yeah, we go from Gilligan's Island or Berrigan's Island to just because Rolf walks away, Kermit's like, oh, I'm all alone. Just like Frogginson Crusoe.
He's so clingy.
He was already stranded on an island, but now I guess he needs to be stranded alone. And so he only has a parrot companion who looks just like Polly from the Fine Feathered Enemies episode in season 3. Right. And this episode overall is just less good. I think because there's less driving force moving us through the episode. They don't feel any more stuck than normal. They don't really mention at all wanting to leave the nursery for any reason. Like none of them need to leave for any reason. And they're not even really imagining things that relate to the experience of being stranded.
And at first I was horrified that it was Gilligan's Island, but then I thought if the whole thing had just been Gilligan's Island, that would have actually been much better.
They don't even play on any of the character tropes.
Nope.
Like they don't let anyone really be the characters from Gilligan's Island. And the fact that Scooter wasn't the professor was a wild choice.
Odd. Yeah. I think Gonzo and Skeeter could have been a fun rich
the
couple.
Howells. Well, them being married then wouldn't be weird. Like they're supposed to be a married couple and you chose the brother and sister.
That's a really great point. Yeah.
Well, Fozzie and Kermit just kind of wander around for a little bit before running into some locals who toss them into a large stew pot.
Yeah, there's also, it verges into the problematic when the cannibals make their appearance.
Yes, anytime some tribal cannibals appear in these kinds of things, someone's going to end up in a big pot, Bugs Bunny style.
But this one still did do a good job of going back and forth between imagination and reality, I think, because when they're
Yeah.
in the pot, it does flash to them, showing them like sitting in something, I don't know, a box or something like that, and like the kids around them.
Yeah.
Problematic as it is,
Yes.
they are there doing it, and you're not struggling to figure out like how on earth this is real.
Yeah, I think Rolf has his ears tied up like hair with like a bone through his like a hair tie type of thing.
I loved that Rolf was Marianne. He looked so cute in his little outfit.
And they don't really make a big deal out of it. He's just like, I'm going to go change.
Guess I got to go change, yeah.
So Piggy comes in to save the day by agreeing to marry Kermit to save him from her father, who I guess would have eaten him.
Sure.
Which I guess they could have made the tribe like pig people.
That would have been much better. And the pigs have a long tradition of doing problematic impressions of other cultures.
The Muppet Show is all about that.
Yeah.
But the wedding is interrupted by Animal Kong,
who's a recurring character at this point.
Yeah, speaking of climbing the bookshelf, that's what he was pretending to be when he took Robin up the bookshelf.
Right.
But he's a giant animal, swoops in and steals Miss Piggy. But Scooter the Dork interrupts this exciting imagination sequence with his metal detector, looking for buried treasure.
Yeah. Usually Animal Kong ruins the game, but I like that this time they went along with it.
And the worst part is that even like everyone just goes, yeah, cool job, Scooter. Gonzo's going to say something more interesting, though. Because Gonzo's like, what if we could find lost civilizations? And they choose to go with the more interesting plot point and follow Gonzo until Scooter also messes up this idea, interrupting again to talk about buried treasure.
Yeah, and since the beginning of the episode, he's been trying to get the buried treasure thing off the ground. He finds one single coin, and then I think they also go, oh, wow, neat. Anyway.
Yeah. But then there's just a really long sequence where the babies finally get on board with trying to find baby treasure. Baby treasure?
Buried
treasure. Then there's a pirate and a catapult and a fleet of whales captained by Gonzo who come in to defeat the pirate, and woof. I had hopes for this one at the beginning, and it just kept getting worse.
Really check out at the end there.
Yeah, so much so that's the end of my notes for the episode.
And then Nanny just comes in and says, the rug's dry. And they say, great, let's go eat food, for crying out loud. We're so hungry.
It's dinner time and we didn't get our snack.
Animal ate all of the food, remember, Nanny.
Well, the go-bye-bye on this one is when Gonzo is relaxing on the beach and a giant animal sun jumps up and scares him Teletubbies baby style.
As it would any normal person with a brain. You don't want to see that as the sun. He's capable of anything.
Well, then next up on our watch list was November 30th, 1987, the 4th Annual Television Academy Hall of Fame, which I didn't really look into the connection to the Emmys, but I think it's the same group of people behind the scenes.
They're using it. They're like mentioned the Emmys a couple times, I think, in this, and it seems like interchangeably used to me. Yeah,
it's like the whatever it is, the governor's organization, blah blah blah, that runs the Golden Globes.
Right.
It's like that. The Television Academy does the Emmys. They also do the Academy Hall of Fame.
So this wasn't an honorary Emmy. This was something different.
I think this is entirely different.
Associated with, right.
Yeah. So this is just a real sweet thing that we got to watch of some induction speeches and a Muppet tribute to Jim Henson, which it seems like the version. So we watched this in two parts. The first part is some of the speeches on the Emmys website, and the second half is the Muppet performance on YouTube.
Yeah.
The first part, the speeches, definitely seems like it was longer and had some copyrighted material in it.
That's the impression I got, was that parts of Harry Belafonte's history of Jim were cut out because they were showing Rolf or something at the same time.
Yeah, well, and Frank at one point mentions Rolf as well,
right.
And then there's a hard cut. So I think they showed some Jimmy Dean stuff and that they couldn't legally, or just didn't want to mess with getting the licensing for the Emmys website.
But man, when Harry Belafonte's thing is beautiful. It's just like, that would be the honor of a lifetime to have him saying such nice things about you. And then
a compliment that somehow starts with the words master manipulator is such a fine needle to thread, because he comes out and calls him a master manipulator of mirth and materials.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
He talks so beautifully about the Muppets alone. Like, I wish, like, we have never said anything as good about the Muppets as Harry Belafonte
No,
says
he
about
did
the
our
Muppets
whole podcast way better than us. Like
in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
He does a full bio of Jim.
Shows his grandma, which is like a deep cut Jim lore. Shows, baby
when that
pictures
happened
of
in
him.
Idea Man, I was like, oh, wow, they're referencing his grandma, not even realizing that they had done that in other televised
Harry
things.
Belafonte had done that several decades before.
Justice for Grandma Henson.
Yeah. And I always love like when they do something like this and then the background music is like an orchestrated version of Rainbow Connection. It's always Rainbow Connection. But then this time at partway through turns to the Muppet Show theme, and I was like, wow, a beautiful somber version of the Muppet Show theme. I wish we could have like the tracks of those somehow.
Same. Which, like, obviously they were played like live by an orchestra probably,
Right.
so we can't.
Yeah.
But I do wish there was some, just orchestral. There might be some out there with that Vitamin String Quartet that does like orchestra covers of pop songs and stuff. I bet they've done Muppets.
Yeah, probably.
I used their Fall Out Boy song for my wedding.
What a strange man you are.
Yeah, you're
a
not
beautiful,
wrong.
beautiful mind.
I was talking to my therapist last week about how I'm like, man, I feel like so many people talk about their past selves as like a different person, or they're like, man, I can't believe I used to watch that or listen to this or whatever. And I look back through like things I liked in high school and things I did as a 5-year-old, and I'm like, I'm just the same guy that I've been like widening my interests, but I've never like excluded an interest.
I feel of the very same way. I had a conversation with someone and I think I annoyed them because they were like, what's something embarrassing you used to listen to when you were a kid? And I was like, first of all, I've always been so self-conscious that I've not directly not listened to anything that could be considered embarrassing, I don't think. But at the same time, it's like I still, or maybe have recently started listening to that stuff again. Like I can't think of anything that I would be so humiliated by that.
I think I listen to such wild music so often that I can't even start to pretend to hide it because it just is, the spectrum is so wide on what I listen to.
Right.
But I like in our Patreon Discord, I shared a picture of this. For those that don't know, maybe you just listen to this podcast and don't follow me anywhere else on social media. My wife is pregnant. I'm going to be a dad. Here's the official Kermitment announcement.
Wow, congratulations.
But because of that, I've been looking through a lot of my old baby stuff. And found this book that my mom filled out through the years of me growing in all my favorite things. And it's like my favorite foods in 1 year, it just says cheese. And I'm like, well, I still love cheese.
That's every child.
But there's one point where it's like Matt's favorite things, Muppet Babies and race cars. And I'm like, oh no, my weekend mornings were the same when I was 4 as they are now. I'm watching Muppet Babies and race cars.
I don't know that Muppet Babies could be considered one of your favorite things. It's an important part of your life.
No, but I do spend a lot of time watching it.
It's a big part of your life, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably bigger than it was back then even.
Absolutely. But still the same guy I was 33 years ago.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, there is something I like about that. I was thinking about that a little bit because we've been watching the new season of Queer Eye. And I'm just like the way they react to some people's life choices on there. Like I understand why certain conversations happen of like, you need to grow up, you need to change, you need to do this stuff. It'll help you out. I'm like, what would they think of me being a Muppet podcaster? How would they try to help me live a better Muppet podcasting life and build me a really professional podcasting studio? Or would they say, hey, so you're still watching Muppet Babies at almost 40 years old, huh?
You can't do that anymore. Yeah. Maybe if you weren't a married expecting father, they would change their tone, but they'd be like, well, this is working for you, so I guess.
Yeah, there's a couple guys this season who are like 39, 40 years old who like live by themselves in this like ultimate bachelor pad, and we're watching it. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, that if I was 40 and not married, that might be what my apartment looks like.
Oh, fascinating. I'll have to watch it. But they might be like, we're not going to touch that one. We're cutting any Muppet podcast mention out of this episode.
Yeah, Disney said no.
They just be like, and Matt has other problems too.
Which we had to talk about privately.
Yeah. You're talking to Karamo?
Karamo.
Yeah,
Karamo.
Karamo in his little den, and he's like beeping out what the thing. He's like, you have to stop. Beep. And underneath it says Muppet Podcasting. But everybody assumes the worst.
There's an episode where they take one of the guys out to the Vegas Strip to play like a TikTok kind of game with passersby of a red flag, green flag, where he holds up like facts about himself on a poster board, and the people are like red flag, green flag, and it's because almost his entire life, all his work, his personal life, everything, he's like green flags across the board, but his apartment is a dump. And so they're like, but what if he took you back to a house that looked like this? And they're like, ugh, red flag. Oh my God, that's terrible. And I'm wondering, like, what would happen if someone held up a card, has a Muppet podcast? Has a great job. Has worked at the same company for like 12 years, but has a Muppet podcast.
We're going to have to go out and ask some people this. We'll have to get some opinions.
Yeah. Find some unbiased people.
I think the fact that I try not to talk about it to some people is indicative of it being an issue. It's just not for everybody, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes we go on some raunchy rants, like in our Muppet Family Christmas episode.
That's probably the most green flag direction it could go. I think sometimes maybe when we're talking about like, that's not how Baby Piggy would act. I think that's like...
That's the one where they're like, you're grown men.
Yeah.
Well, getting back to grown men talking about their love of Muppets, we get Harry Belafonte wrapping up his bio by introducing Frank Oz. Frank comes out to talk about Jim, says the first word he thinks of when he thinks of Jim is the word silly, and he means that in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And he talks very sweetly. He's very grateful, he says, for all the opportunities that working with Jim has afforded to him.
Yeah, Frank, he's a wild card, but in this moment, he is being so real, you can tell.
Which I love. I feel like Frank Oz interviews now are so infrequent that when they do happen, I feel like sometimes he's like playing this like curmudgeonly, cranky version of himself that he doesn't want to get too genuine. But when he spends the time and gets super genuine about Muppets and talks about Jim, which I think like Muppet Guys Talking is something we'll watch eventually, that I think is a great example of this. And I wish we could have gone to all the screenings he did recently at the Museum of the Moving Image that he showed up and talked after. Because I like when he gets really genuine. But first we need some more silly, because he introduces Lord Lou Grade, who couldn't be there in person, but did send a nice little video message. He's standing there, cigar in hand, and then does an adorable little dance.
That's the Charleston for some reason.
I thought when he was teeing that up of like, well, I can't be there, I'm going to send you a dance. I thought it was going to cut to like his head on a fake body or something
like that.
Or cut to like clearly not his feet doing a tap dance or something. But it was just him doing the Charleston in his office.
It's like, doesn't even seem like it's an inside joke or anything. It's just like, yeah, what can I do? That's cute. He does a good job though. He's really moving for an old guy.
And then Harry Belafonte comes back out to introduce Jim, who hops up and is very quick to highlight the fact that the Muppets is a group project that a lot of people work on, and he is not the sole creative genius.
Yeah. It's so weird for me to watch these things and to think about, like, it's not like they're misattributing stuff to him, but it really is so, like, sometimes the seeds of ideas he gives are so thin, and so many people have had so much more to do with it than...
Well, especially when you get into like the Don Saleen of it all and the designs that he would get from Jim, and it's like, okay, so he made one of the most iconic Muppets ever based on a pencil sketch that Jim passed him on a napkin.
Or even like Fraggle Rock, which I assume mostly happened.
Right.
Like Jerry Jewell is maybe equally as responsible for a lot of this stuff.
Right.
Not to take anything away from Jim, of course.
No.
Frank said, none of this would have happened without him. But
he does take this moment because celebrities can't help themselves but get political in their speeches. To say, I'd like to say a word or two about television, if I may.
Yeah.
We've barely begun to tap its potential, and television is one of the most powerful influences on our culture, and there's a responsibility that comes with that. Which, true. But I think it is interesting how we don't hear as much as I would think. Like, I feel like Jim should go on 60 Minutes and do like a super long interview talking about this, because it's something he always brings up as like an afterthought in other moments.
I think he's trying to make things that are bringing that about instead of just talking about it.
Right.
I think when he pitches stuff, when he pitches his version of the Wonderful World of Disney, or like he's telling fairy tales on TV, I think he's trying to make somebody else do some art on television too, like he's trying to do, instead of just talking about it. But this was so striking to me because I feel like TV's fucked now. like TV doesn't feel magical anymore. It feels like it's everywhere. There's no like people talking about like the monoculture, which in some ways like not having that exposes you to lots of other people's ideas and ways of living, but at the same time
it gives opportunities to a lot more people to be on TV and make things, but
it's so diluted by like the sheer scale of it that it's like there's not the thing that people talk about anymore. When they do talk about it, they talk about it for 1 hour and then it's just done and into the mists of time. It's just so fast now. And yeah, this was striking to me because it was like, I think you'd be disappointed in what TV's like now, maybe.
Yeah, like imagine the ratings for this like Television Academy Hall of Fame ceremony was probably double what like the best sitcoms get today.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Kermit the Frog comes out to honor Jim Henson. It's unclear, what the timeline of all of this is, because the first clip ends with Jim ending his speech, and the next clip just begins with Kermit the Frog coming out on a brick wall. Yeah. So I don't know if those were one right after the other. But this is a performance of a song called Jim Is, written by the other Ray Charles, the one from The Muppet Show.
From The Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the Muppet Show gang sent a video from London. Basically, Kermit comes out and introduces the concept here that, hey, we couldn't get all the Muppets together for this, but they've all sent in videos from all over the world. So the Muppet Show gang sent a video in from London. And I'm realizing that some of these Muppets are definitely in the last part of this performance.
Yeah.
So
like Fozzie's
they are there.
Yeah.
And this whole thing is just so sweet and funny.
It's so incredibly delightful, and it's such a it's such a good summation of the last like several decades of what he's done, but also still being so like the Muppet Show part is, I love how it's all undercut. Like they're saying nice things about Jim, but they're all not true, or they're all just like weird extrapolations of like Fozzie's like, Jim laughs at my jokes, and all the Muppets behind him go, no, he doesn't. But when it gets to his employees, that's my favorite part. The Fraggle part is actually my favorite part because I love the Fraggle so much. But the employees working in the puppet shop, and one of their lines is, Jim is a fairly adequate boss.
Yes.
Like, I know that that's true. Like,
right, yeah. He's not the worst. But yeah, we get mentions of David Laser and Michael Frith. We get Fraggle Rock's tape from Toronto, which ends with Boober saying, "What is a Jim Henson?"
And actually, my favorite line in the whole song is, they're just, all the Muppets, like every line of the song is like a different thing Jim is. And Wembley says, Jim is a place where you exercise athletically. And then we laugh so hard. Yeah, and then Boober's like, we don't actually know what Jim is.
The Sesame Street tape is Bert and Ernie, Grover and Big Bird and Harry and the Count, spelling out Jim.
Yeah, and it's really, really cute because I just like... Yeah. I like to see Carol get to hang out with all of especially with Jim and Frank. I just like to see him take his place with those people that I feel like he doesn't get to do enough.
You know what the funniest part of this is to me?
Huh?
All of Jim's characters
singing
about how great he is. He would have had to record these lines in the studio of how great he is.
Yeah, it's... him be like narrating it as Kermit, being like, it's a celebration of Jim Henson. It would be like, let me go in a room by myself and record these lines, please. I don't want anyone to look at me while I'm doing this.
The biggest plot twist comes after the song, where we go back to Kermit, and he said, "That takes care of everyone." And Miss Piggy comes in, very upset that, in fact, you didn't mention me. And we get to see a little moment with Bernie Brillstein.
They call him on the phone. He says, "Kermit, how you doing, my man?"
Which, the funniest part is, in an earlier shot I think when Harry Belafonte is talking, you see Bernie Brillstein sitting next to Jim Henson at the table.
When it cut back, because Jim is watching the whole time, when it cut back to him, I was like, what the fuck?
Where you're not there?
Yeah.
Why are you sitting? Who's there?
It feels
Who's
like
up
it
there?
cuts back to him pretty late in the whole thing.
Yes, you don't see Jim's face until after the Bernie Brillstein part where he talks to Kermit on the phone. He mentions that Piggy lost the lead in Fatal Attraction. And Kermit's like, never mind that. It's time for the finale.
Also, and the audience is eating this shit up. I feel like this is going over so well.
But that's when they cut back to Jim's reaction. And he's laughing his ass off
having a great
himself.
Time. Himself talking, yeah.
And this is where it gets wild because there's 14 puppets on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to name them all, but Sprocket's there, which is nice.
Yeah.
And at the end of this little number, they come out and they introduce the puppeteers: Jerry Nelson, Richard Hunt, Steve Whitmire, Kathy Mullen, Dave Goelz, and Kevin Clash. Now there's 14 puppets and there's 6 people.
So there's just one more person potentially back there.
Is Frank Oz back there?
Oh, Frank
is my question.
Doesn't come out.
My second theory is that a couple of these puppets are just being held up as like, I don't know how, like they're just strapped to something.
No, maybe then the puppet next to them. Maybe some of them have.
Because they would each have 2 puppets on 2 hands.
Right.
So I don't know where the third puppet would be. Rizzo would be the easiest to like toss around in some way.
Yeah.
But Miss Piggy's mouth also isn't moving at all during the song.
Oh.
So I don't know how the math's out, but there's 14 puppets on stage and 6 performers.
I really hope there's not just one person left back there who was just like a helper who didn't get to come out.
Yeah, there's a chance.
I guess that makes sense if it's like an intern or something.
Yeah. Probably somebody who's super famous now.
I wonder where Frank did go.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you have like Kermit and Piggy interacting on stage and you kind of figure out that like, oh, wait, Jim and Frank aren't there though.
Yeah.
Like, who knows?
Imposters. But this was great. This was like usually as usual when we watch something. The parade thing was actually also great too. When you watch something with real Kermit after seeing baby Kermit for so long, it does feel like maybe it inflates how great it is to some degree. But this was just really touching. And the song is really funny.
Yes. And seeing Jim give the speech, I think we've often, as we get later in the 80s here, we're about to head into 1988. It feels like we're approaching the end of Jim Henson's career.
Yeah.
But I think seeing him in that speech and knowing that we do have a lot still left to watch of things he's made, I don't know. It made me feel less close to the end of his life.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, I don't know. There's just like
you
sort
have
of
a better grasp on how much more we have left, but
that's true.
I don't know. I guess to me, it did kind of feel like the end, but
well, knowing that we have the Jim Henson hour left,
that's true,
as like a big sort of final farewell to Jim Henson kind of thing.
Yeah,
like his last big work.
Yeah,
makes me excited for when we get to that. Because we have so much Muppet Babies left that is airing before and after Jim passes away that it can sometimes feel like we're done with Jim Henson's big swings as we are watching what we're watching. And I keep forgetting that we do have Jim Henson Hour left, which is a thing that neither of us have seen, but was supposed to be like the next Muppet Show.
And it's also kind of tough to see him do like the pitches that don't work out and stuff. Like we're seeing so much more behind the scenes and like know so much more about how it does seem like a hard time kind of. And like, I'm sure he doesn't feel this way, or maybe he actually probably does feel this way of just like, they haven't quite recaptured the Muppet Show thing in terms of large scale popularity.
Yeah, I mean, even Kermit in this says something along the lines of like, we don't do much together these days.
Yeah.
Like he references the fact that like, we don't really do Muppet stuff anymore.
And even Frank is like, this is Frank. He worked with Jim and he's a director now. It kind of feels like,
Yeah. I don't know. It's very interesting. But we do still have one more episode of Muppet Babies to talk about in this episode. From December 5th, 1987, The Frog Who Knew Too Much. Written by Rich Fogel and Mark Seidenberg. What did you think the surprise was going to be? Did you have any guesses?
I didn't have any guesses. And I can't think of what... like, I guess my only guess would have been it would have been something more exciting than what it ended up being. Or,
Yes,
like, more
a new train
appropriate
set is
to
not that exciting.
more appropriate to the rest of the episode somehow, or, like
Or something that all the babies could enjoy equally as, like, a
Yeah.
shared thing, not just this thing they're gonna set up once and probably break immediately.
Yeah, and, like, maybe if the episode so there is a train that features heavily in this episode, and maybe if Kermit had accidentally been, like,
Ooh,
subconsciously
yeah.
revealing what it was or something like that more directly. But also, I think in a different show, like a modern show, it probably would have been something like a dog or something, like it would have been a
Yeah.
character that it would have been something that showed up in the future. Like, I don't know. It feels like a big deal. And then it's a train set, and then Animal eats the train set.
Just one. He eats the dinner car.
Yeah, but that's still important. That's like part of their toy. That's like 10% of the entire toy that they got has now been
I mean, what
eaten.
you don't see is that Animal immediately pukes up everything he eats.
Oh, okay. So when it just
Yeah.
falls out the bottom of him like the actual puppet.
Yeah, he's like a ghost.
What did you think? Did you think it was going to be anything?
Oh, I had no idea. And I was a little annoyed that there was like this secret they were keeping that didn't feel that important or compelling.
It should have just
and that there
shown
was
us
no
at the-
hints.
yeah, she should have just shown. It should have just been revealed what it was when he went to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Because of what it ends up being, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't know it was a train set.
But I have been trained by this show to not expect anything. So
You said trained.
ah.
But it kicks off with a medieval imagination segment where King and Queen Kermit and Piggy send for the royal baker, which is Fozzie. After Piggy has eaten all of her snacks, Fozzie baked bluebirds into a pie, which is Gonzo. And the wild twist to this is we pull out, and it turns out that this was story time with Nanny as she's tucking the kids in at night.
And they're just, I guess, going hog wild and interrupting her every 3 seconds
I
and
guess.
changing the
She's like, they baked blackbirds into a pie. She's like, what if it's bluebirds and what if it's Gonzo? And they're like, okay, fine. Sure.
And it's
Gonzo's in the pie.
they're assuming that Gonzo is a bird of some sort, which, he had feathers last episode.
There's a lot of talk about Gonzo being a bird, and I think they just want to nail him down. There's people who aren't comfortable with the idea of just a weirdo.
That's right, yeah.
Well, Nanny tucks the kids in and's like, well, get a good night's sleep because tomorrow I have a big surprise for you. And of course, the kids now can't sleep because they're too excited about guessing the surprise. Skeeter takes us on an unnecessary detour where she says she hopes it's a horse.
Frankly, whole episode is an unnecessary detour. I must correct you there.
But in hindsight, this is like the least important part of the episode.
Yes, that's right.
Skeeter hopes it's a horse, a champion jumping horse. I don't know if they want to not say race horse.
I guess there could be, but I mean, it's still similar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could have been a dressage horse. She could have been doing dressage.
They don't know the word dressage. Well, Kermit falls out of the crib at the end of this after his horse is startled by Animal. And I love being able to witness a network note in real time.
Oh, why? What
because
happened?
Kermit falls out of this crib right on his head, just right down. But in this moment, he falls onto a pile of about 8 cushions.
Oh, great. Yeah.
That I imagine that were definitely not there when Nanny walked away.
They had to go back in and paint those in.
Yes. I imagine they animated Kermit falling on his noggin, and they said, hey, can you put some pillows there so it doesn't look like Kermit just died?
We would love for children not to throw their baby brothers head first onto the ground.
So Kermit, I think he says first that he wants a glass of water now that he's up.
Yeah.
And Skeeter is like, well, while you're up, could you get everyone a glass of water?
I thought this was kind of a nice little moment for some reason.
Yeah. It does make me feel like this happens more often than it should.
Yeah.
But this when Kermit heads out to the rest of the absolutely gigantic house, where we see he has to go downstairs and walk through there's so many doors, is my problem. You just see so many unexplored rooms in this house.
Yeah. When you think about how many doors you have in your house compared to, and how often they're closed compared to most cartoons, how often they're walking past closed doors.
Lots of closed doors.
You don't have to draw the room on the other side if the door's closed.
Well, he stumbles upon Nanny in the middle of a giant empty room on her gift wrapping table. And he gets to see, I guess, from his angle, what the surprise is.
Yeah, though we look from his angle too and can't see, but
We don't get any insight into what is happening.
maybe he saw her
here.
lifted into the box when he turned the
Yeah.
corner.
But
they're still playing with the surprise. It is not revealed to us what it is.
She makes him promise that he won't tell anyone about the surprise. As he returns to the nursery, though, he almost immediately blows it.
Yeah.
Because he also forgot to get anyone any water. And he ends up even telling them, I did see Nanny. I did see the surprise in the kitchen, and I can't tell you. So the babies want to get the truth out of Kermit. And we get to see what I learned is called a psychomachia moment.
Is that the devil angel thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
what that sort of trope is known as. Because it led me to the Psychomachia Muppet wiki page about all the examples of this happening.
Me to here.
Just now, yes, in Muppet lore.
Oh.
Because Psychomachia is a literary concept named for a Latin poem by Prudentius. About the inner conflict of one's soul between virtue and vice. So yes, apparently when you see an angel and a devil on people's shoulders, that is psychomachia, the concept.
What is immediately jumping out to me is that we've seen Gonzo dressed similarly like a leather daddy devil version.
The devil is a leather daddy.
Yeah, same hat, same little outfit. Kermit's wearing pants, which Gonzo isn't, but other than that, yeah, he's a little Tom of Finland kind of guy.
I think they just try to picture like a biker is a bad guy, I guess.
Yeah. Why can't he just be red and nude?
I think you answered your own question.
The babies the babies are never naked, is right.
They were a little too naked in the when they were being cooked by the tribe.
Oh yeah,
Fozzie being unclothed in the stew.
Weird choice. Yeah, I feel like when in cartoons people are being cooked, they usually are still in their clothes.
Yeah, I guess you don't want that taste to be part of your stew.
I guess so, yeah.
Also creepy, I think, in this episode is Kermit in his pajamas. He looks weird and lanky. Like his legs are suddenly twice as long as they previously were.
I think this episode has a couple of several moments of them being not proportioned correctly.
Yeah.
Like when they're dressed like Miami Vice guys, there's occasions where they just look like they're the adult versions of themselves.
Yeah, this feels like, if we're usually dealing with like 3-year-old Kermit, this is like 7-year-old Kermit.
Ugh,
he just aged up a little bit.
I don't even want to think about it.
Well, they go on to play He's Got a Secret. Take on the old game show I've Got a Secret, which was, I think, it take off on What's My Line. So we're a lot of layers deep here. Well, they try to guess Kermit's secret, but of course he won't spill the beans. Well, Rolf decides, and this is the moment where he starts talking, and I thought for sure we were leading into a song.
Yeah.
Where he's like, maybe we'll have to sniff it out like bloodhounds.
I think he even said, I think before that, he's like, is it a new synthesizer or something like that? He's like, is it a new instrument?
Well, and music starts to like swell up, and he's like, I know what we got to do. And surprisingly, it's not sing.
They shut him down. Not this time, Rolf.
It's a Miami Vice Imagination segment where Rolf and Fozzie are going to go check out a nightclub.
I like when Rolf gets to be be part of a thing like this. When he was just singing, he didn't get to do that very often, I feel.
That's very true, yeah. Well, someone kidnaps Kermit to find out his secret, and we get a boat chase that ends with a crash into a pet store, and they catch the bad guy in a cage. And I thought for sure, Skeeter or somebody else would be revealed to be the bad guy. But instead, they just hide his face the entire time.
They're all being... This doesn't make any sense because it's like they're trying to help Kermit who has a secret, but they're the ones who are the bad guys. Like, in this situation...
It's a commentary on the police, Sam.
Guess that's right, yeah. They would have been the ones kidnapping Kermit.
I mean, they essentially do and torture him very soon.
Oh, yeah. So. They've straight up say, we're going to torture you.
They say tickle.
Yeah, that's right.
For some reason after that, Kermit just randomly says, it would take someone like James Bond to keep a secret around here. Whenever we switch between these imaginary characters that like they tend to come back to, like the Indiana Frog stuff or like this James Bond, I just wish it was slightly more like Doug, where it was like a flight of fancy where it's like, I want to imagine myself being really good at this, and so I imagine Jack Bandit, or I imagine blah, 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 and all these characters. And this just feels like Kermit contractually obligated to say, I bet James Bond would be
Yeah.
good at this.
That's a great point. And then you're just watching him not be good at it, just the same exact way
Yes.
that he
Whereas
would be
Doug
bad
is
at
like
it.
trying to solve a mystery or break in and steal something. He's like, this sounds like a job for why Jack Bandit.
Right. But the babies imagine themselves as inept as they are in real life all the time.
Yes.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, they can't actually solve their real life problems.
Yeah.
Well, we get a very unfortunate Gonzo character attempting an Indian accent.
Yeah.
Which
That was bad.
voice, I mean, it's one of those things where voice actors are working hard to be doing a Gonzo doing an Indian accent voice.
Yes, but
there
for
is a
what?
skill,
What? Yeah.
but definitely a could versus
Misapplied.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scooter and Skeeter are posing as Dutch traveling salespeople to try and get Kermit's secret out of him. And this just kind of goes on for a while until Piggy traps them all in a train car.
I wrote, this is so pointless at this point in the episode, which is actually also almost the end of the episode.
It is, but first we have one torture scene left. And for some reason, they half abandon the James Bond concept because Kermit is now back in his normal Baby Kermit outfit, but he is being interrogated by Dr. Nose, Gonzo.
Wild choice to not have that fantasy lead into this fantasy.
It's a completely separate thing where it's as if Gonzo doesn't know that they just did a James Bond thing.
He was in the bathroom or something.
He's like, hey, what if we did a James Bond thing? Okay. We kind of just did that. He's like, but my name, I got a nose, so what if?
Nose. Dr. Nose is good, and I feel like they've used it before too, but I can't think of when they would have. But Dr. Nose is pretty good.
But Gonzo uses the plunger of truth to suck the truth out of Kermit's skull, which doesn't really work because really what happens is Kermit just reverts back and starts telling Gonzo his entire life story, which bores Gonzo.
Learn some juicy details, but we didn't.
I thought for sure he'd mention a parent.
Yeah.
But he just mentions growing up on a lily pad, and that's about the only
growing his legs.
Yeah, he mentions when he got legs. So all we know is what we pretty much already knew, that Kermit was a tadpole at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess he wasn't raised in the nursery.
He was
born
that. In a swamp and ended up there somehow, yeah.
But this bores Gonzo so much that he falls asleep before Kermit gets to the juicy secret, which it seemed like he might have actually spilled at this point.
Yeah, whatever they did to him in real life worked.
Yeah, he did tell his entire life story for some reason.
They maybe did put a plunger on his head.
Well, the babies all wake up the next morning to find the wrapped gift box in the middle of the nursery. They rip it open to find their brand new train set.
An animal eats one.
Well, there's a sweet moment first where Nanny tells Kermit she's proud of him for keeping the secret.
Oh, okay.
But then, yes, Animal eats the entire dinner car.
And it's so stupid that, and I think they even say like, wow, we just thought we were just talking about a train. Maybe they say that at some point.
Yeah. They're like, I think they say, oh, now we can have a real like train adventure or whatever.
Like, what are you? Yeah. What? I just don't know if there's a way to.
I think mentioning earlier that something else broke.
Yeah.
Like just offhandedly mentioning like, remember our old train set or whatever? Like having a seed of something so that you could be ahead of the babies on this might make it a little bit more exciting.
Yeah. Just I can't think of what an interesting version of one of the babies has a secret and the other ones want to get it out of him. Maybe I can't think of what that is besides torturing him. Like
maybe it's like one of the other babies' birthday presents. Like, Kermit, you can't tell anyone, but this is Piggy's birthday present. I don't want her to find out, so you can't tell anybody else. And maybe it like slowly leaks throughout the other Muppets, but nobody tells Piggy.
Right. And it's kind of like when Rolf doesn't get a Valentine and there's like an increasing mania to guessing what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, definitely not as good as the first episode, but not quite as bad as the second episode. But still not great.
Yeah.
And the go-bye-bye is unfortunately Indian Gonzo back, stealing the lunchbox, which was the plot point of the James Bond sequence. Animal burst out of the lunchbox, scaring him off of the train. But that does it for this week's batch of Muppet Babies episodes. Surprisingly,
pretty
uneven.
Solid for what it is.
Yeah. Usually it's pretty even in the bad way.
Yeah.
And this week it was really uneven because we actually had a really good episode.
Really good. I don't know.
I would watch that episode again.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's fair enough.
I've been craving some non-Muppet Babies Muppet content and thinking about going back and watching some Muppet Show episodes, or maybe jumping ahead and watching like Muppets Most Wanted or something.
I do think there's a couple Muppet Show episodes I would want to revisit. It's been a long time.
Because of our Crazy Harry podcast we're doing for Tough Pigs,
Yeah.
I went back and watched a few clips from the Muppet Show and was like, this show's good.
Yeah. It was good.
We still got a lot of Muppet Babies to watch though, Sam. So
Yeah.
don't be thinking about good shows for too long.
Hopefully some of it's okay.
That's the best we can hope for.
Yeah.
Well, before we get out of here, I got to ask Sam, what non-Muppet things did you enjoy this week?
I watched Jack Frost, which was
Ooh, the Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton one. And it is notable because the Jim Henson Creature Shop or whatever made the puppet of
Does it
the
also
snowman.
take place in Montana?
Colorado, Denver.
Oh, okay.
I think they live in Denver. And it's really scary because the man turns into a snowman and he falls apart. And it's like a body horror movie where he's like trying to keep all his pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it that bothered me the most was that they spend the whole beginning of the movie setting up that he is a famous blues man who's like on the verge of hitting it big, and that damn snowman never sings the blues or plays a harmonica or anything. And I really
he doesn't have lips, Sam.
Well, okay, I feel like that's the least of the issues. I really thought the whole thing was leading up to him singing a big song, but it doesn't. And also it's just like
the whole world gets to see a blues singing snowman,
and they play it off somehow, or like he records, he's like, the band is like, oh, we never got to make it big, and maybe he like records that track so they can have their dream come true, because it's so sad that he dies. He's not even a bad guy. He's barely like, he has to go perform a party and he can't do Christmas or whatever, which is like stupid and bad, but also he's going to be a rich blues man after he does that. So it's not, it's like, I think Rachel was saying it would have made more sense if it had been the kind of movie where he's like a banker or like works in an office or something like that.
Right, the absent dad kind of movie.
Right.
And then he bonds with his son through being a snowman.
If he had a stupid job, it would have made more sense. But he has a fucking cool job and everybody loves him. And even his wife is like, we have to figure out how to make your dreams come true. And it's like, well, yeah, why does he deserve to die in a horrible car accident? And then his band doesn't get to be famous, which is also really sad. It's just he's punished too badly for what he is.
Sorry, I'm reading Roger Ebert's review of this movie at the moment, where he says, it's possible for the Jim Henson folks in Industrial Light and Magic to put their heads together and come up with the most repulsive single creature in the history of special effects. And I am not forgetting the Chucky doll or the desert intestine from Star Wars.
Oh, well, leave Chucky out of this. But yeah, he's gross. I hate looking at this snowman.
I think he looks great.
He looks like Michael Keaton, which is quite...
He doesn't.
I think he does.
Because according to behind-the-scenes things, George Clooney was supposed to star in this film.
Oh.
And they made the character look like Clooney before he left the project.
Now, let me take a look at it.
That's a Clooney-ass snowman if I've ever seen one.
He's got good facial expressions that...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a Clooney-ass snowman. You're right. Well,
Keaton plays him well. I have fond memories of this movie. I'm sure it's bad, but I have fond memories of watching it as a child and enjoying it.
It's just so disturbing of a concept, and not like I know that that's like such an overdone thing to be like, this kid's movie's actually really disturbing if you think about it. You don't have to think about it that hard to get to it being extremely disturbing. So I watched that. Watched Hot Frosty. Hot Frosty was boring. They never even have sex or anything like that. Stupid. And then I watched this great movie called A Karate Christmas Miracle, which is
so many more words in that title than I thought you were going to say.
Is not so bad it's good is not for everyone, but if you are a person who likes a movie that's so bad that it's amazing, this is a movie about a child whose father is dead, much like Jack Frost, and he thinks that if he gets his black belt by Christmas, which is 5 days from now, and he's like 5 levels away from getting his black belt, that his father will come back to life if he gets his black belt. And then his mom is friends with a psychic, and they're like investigating the father's disappearance. And if you like a So Bad It's Good movie, you gotta check this one out. I laughed. I haven't laughed so hard in years. It was amazing.
Interesting.
But yeah, Karate Christmas Miracle. So a lot of Christmas movies, basically, which just makes
Checks
sense because
out.
as we're recording this, it is December 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, what about you?
Well, I was watching a bunch of stuff. We finished Modern Family, finally, all 11 seasons of that show.
Was it good?
It wraps up nicely. I think
Okay.
around like season 7 or 8, there starts to be a little bit of that, like, ooh, these people were getting to be the most famous people in the world
Yeah.
because of their show, and they all can't be in the same episodes anymore because they're doing other things.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, there's some ebbs and flows around season 7 or 8, but I feel like they wrap it up nicely in the last couple seasons. But I feel like it's like season 7, I think it was, is rough.
Okay.
It just feels like something was off. We also watched Senna, which is a 6-episode miniseries on Netflix about a Formula One driver who was a driver in the 80s and early 90s who died racing in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really good miniseries. The one thing I will say, if anyone has interest in watching this, for some reason Netflix, when I put it on, put it by default into English, but it is a show that's mostly made in Portuguese. And so I'm watching it and I'm like, these performances are terrible, but it's because they were dubbed.
Okay. And you
so
didn't
just make
even
sure
notice it for a bit, or what?
It was like a good 10 minutes. I was like, this is an interesting choice. I wonder what happened. And then I looked at the like language options, and there was one that said like Portuguese and English.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's the one I need.
Okay.
But that's very good. And then the other thing that I'm watching right now is season 2 of Shrinking, which is a fantastic show that I love so much.
To start that.
Just the fact Harrison Ford is at his absolute best in this show. If you want to see the best version of Harrison Ford you've ever seen, watch this. Like, since obviously the Han Solo Indiana Jones days, like,
and until Captain America: Secret Empire,
we'll see. But Shrinking season 2, I think there's been a Muppet reference in every single episode.
Oh yeah, right. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, considering it's a show made by Jason Segel and Brett Goldstein,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna, make sense they're slipping in Muppet references, but it's almost at this point egregious once you notice it, because it's once an episode that someone will just be like, ugh, hey, Statler and Waldorf, to like two old dudes.
Weird.
Like
universe where the Muppets loom even larger over.
It is a universe where every character in this is a Muppet fan, and so they will pull out a Muppet reference in an episode.
If only we lived in that universe, we'd be millionaires.
There was a recent GQ interview with Jason Segel where he was doing one of those go through your careers things, and they were asking him about keeping stuff from his movies, and he said he doesn't really keep anything, but he has the Jason Segel puppet from the Muppets,
from Man or Muppet.
and he keeps it in his secret puppet room in his house, where he has behind a bookcase, you like pull a certain way, and it reveals what he called a speakeasy that is filled with puppets on all the stools and chairs.
Well, what would the Queer Eye guys think of that?
He would just not let them find it. But I did, Jason Segel, if you're out there and you want to let us podcast from your puppet room, we'd love to.
Oh, wow. Podcast from your puppet room.
Get that little cool vampire puppet from the Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That would be amazing. And the sound treatment in there would be done already.
He's so great,
so
yeah.
many puppets.
Well, we need to let you know what we're watching next time. And next time, we'll kick off 2025 by wrapping up 1987 as we watch 3 more episodes of Muppet Babies, Season 4, titled... You ready, Sam?
Yes.
I really think you're not going to like one of these.
Okay.
Beach Blanket Babies.
Ew. Okay.
Old Kermit Had a Farm.
Stop it.
And Adventures in Muppet Sitting.
Okay. Old Kermit Had a Farm. Is Beach Blanket Babies the bad one, though?
No, Old Kermit was the one that I was predicting you not enjoying.
I have a visceral reaction to Beach Blanket Babies is not good. I don't like that at all.
I do think Adventures in Muppet Sitting might be the return of Robin the Tadpole, though.
Oh, does this one maybe have Janice in it, too?
I don't think so. I think Janice shows up in a different one.
Okay.
Or I think she might be babysitting the babies.
Beach Blanket Babies will be about surfing.
Obviously, they're going to be on a beach. It's going to be a Frankie and Annette kind of.
What's the middle one again?
thing.
Old Kermit Had a Farm.
So if you just Google Beach Blanket Babies, you're going to find a Rugrats episode titled the exact same title.
Ew. That's
which
just
is
a
not
bad name.
surprising.
They got to leave their houses and actually go to the beach, though, and Rugrats.
Yes, it does seem the Muppets have a kiddie pool in the nursery.
Oh, God.
If I'm looking at the screenshots.
That's pathetic. Come on, guys.
But we will get into those next time, and we'll also watch an appearance of Jim and Kermit on Entertainment Tonight promoting A Muppet Family Christmas, because we're back to that.
where
we
we
jumped
were.
around a little bit,
Right.
but we are actually wrapping up 1987 and get to watch Jim and Kermit talk a bit about Muppet Family Christmas. Well, we got to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to Kermitment.com for all your Kermitment needs. And don't forget to rate and review this podcast wherever you're listening to it, especially reviews. I like reading those out. So if you leave a review for us, I think Apple Podcasts is the only one that has actual like text reviews you can leave. But if you do that, we will read them out on future episodes. You can reach out to us at mail@kermitment.com. We solicited a bunch of emails earlier in this, and I don't even remember why.
Oh, because we want to know if you listened to the show because you saw us at the Roxy.
Ooh, yeah. And if you're just a Missoula Muppet fan and want to hang out, might be too strong. But, you know, encourage some public Muppet fandom at like a safe space of a, like, you know, where many people can gather.
Yeah, not my house.
Yeah. We're not inviting you over. But you can follow this podcast everywhere on social media at Kermitment Pod, or you can also follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.